Springer, right?
Or are we? Yes, we are. My name is Paul Finebaum, and this is the Paul Finebaum Show. Have I ever said that before? I've always wanted to say my name a couple of times. Welcome to the program. It is Friday. Are we in a giddy mood? Yes, we are. Any reason for that? We have no idea. Put your seatbelt on. 4 hours of LSU conversation. This is the LSU Network. It might as well be LSU cleaning up at the College Football Awards. Maxwell Biletnikoff. Try saying that after a beer. Look at Joe Burrow. AP Player of the Year, Maxwell. Davey O'Brien. You think he might win the Heisman? Jamar Chase, Biletnikoff. Delpit. SDB. Ojara, Coach of the Year. Mike the Tiger of the Year. So, AP, POI, Davey, all these guys have done it. And guess what they've also done? No, they've made a lot of money, but they won the Heisman. Listen, what a night at the College Football Awards ceremony. It was a lot of crawfish etouffee down in Baton Rouge. What did you expect? I mean, did you expect something other than Joe Burrow and everybody on that team? I mean, this is the best team in college football, with all due respect to the Clemson Tigers. So who's not good? That's you, Pac-12. We are looking at you. Larry Scott, always good with a pithy quote after his teams get knocked out of the playoff. Missing playoff is harmful to the league. Well, Larry, guess what? Get used to it, pal. It has been a long time since the Pac-12 mattered. Remember Oregon? They did have Washington a couple of years ago. It didn't last long. McCaffrey, whatever happened to him? Is he still playing football? Seems like it. Yeah. Let's be honest. The league sucks. You can tell we all went out for happy hour today. The staff Christmas party was not today, but we acted like it was. Anyway, we have a big show on tap, and it starts with the pitmaster, Sam Pittman. We'll ask him if he really is going to hire Barry Odom. Will Healy, do you know that name? Hot coach. Charlotte's going to a bowl game. A couple of years ago, they were a laughingstock. Jimmy Burrow, our man, on the scene in Times Square. Joe's dad. And continuing our theme of the Army-Navy game, we had both coaches yesterday. Today, we have retired Major General Vincent Bowles. Nice. Are we in a good mood?
Absolutely.
We're a week away from the Christmas break. I'm ready for Christmas, aren't you? I'm available for presidents and presents, in case. Oh, man. Listen, I don't drink, and they said, come on, let's chug some eggnog, and I did it, and now I don't really know where I am. I barely got into the studio on time. Did I tell you my name is Paul Finebaum? Have I said that already? Okay. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. Anyway, we're having a good time today because it's Friday. And then, by the way, this is our first in-studio show on Fridays since August. So I'm not suffering out there in the cold and rain. Right. That makes me happy. Let's get to the calls at 855-242-7285. And Jeremy is in Texas, and you're on the air. Jeremy, you there?
Oh, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much.
All right. I would like to talk about the Arkansas job here for a second. I understand Chad Morris, 2-10, 5-7, 7-5 at SMU. I kind of question the reason why they would possibly potentially hire him. I understand now that they have a new coach coming in, Pittman. I think he would be a great motivator, but I'm kind of questioning his coaching ability. I think the administration should have gone another route. I feel that they missed that opportunity.
Okay, let me ask you, Jeremy. I always like to. I'm not being difficult here, but if you tell me a name of someone they should have hired.
Well, I think that they could have gone another route by getting, let's say, a Craig Bowl from Wyoming or a Chris Kleiman, who they had the opportunity, I feel, 3 years ago to come from North Dakota State and come to Arkansas.
Okay.
These guys have proven track records
You're right.
of not only taking two to three star players and actually making them into pure athletes and actually making them into superstars. We're talking about a Carson Wentz being a 2-star athlete. Now he's a first-round pick as a quarterback with Philadelphia.
No, you're right.
Also Buffalo, Josh Allen, 2-star athlete. You know, I feel that you have to be able to find those gems in recruiting, and I feel that those two coaches have proven themselves as recruiters, and I feel that they could be better motivators and also important for the Arkansas program to kind of build themselves up a little bit. If we're talking, when we think about Arkansas football, we think about power football. Those two coaches teach power football. I feel that that would have been a great route. And this is coming from an LSU fan. I would like the rivalry to get back to a basis of, okay, it's competitive. Right now, it's not competitive.
Well, listen, I mean, we've seen what happened this year at Kansas State. To your point, I don't know the answer to your question. I will meet Sam Pittman for the first time here in a few minutes. I'm really looking forward to it. I hear good things about him. But, I mean, if you had said to me a week ago, hey, there's $1 million on the line, you've got 10 shots at getting the Arkansas coach right, I wouldn't have gotten it.
Right.
Maybe 20 shots.
Completely understand.
Maybe 40 shots. But anyway, thanks for the call. Maybe $100 I could have gotten out of that. Forget $1 million. James is in Baton Rouge. Hello, James.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
We're
Happy
good.
holidays to you.
Thank you very much.
And chill out on that eggnog.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, I was calling just a couple things about these Alabama fans. Squirrel and what's his name? Squirrel and Larry. I was listening to them yesterday.
Curly, Larry, and Moe.
They're in withdrawals, I think. But they got to realize Alabama's been getting the benefit of the doubt for quite a few years. I mean, twice they've made it to the show without even winning their own division, you know, let alone the championship.
You're right.
So what they need to do, they need to suck it up, you know, stop all this crying and you know, talking bad about Ed Ogeron and Burrow and just look for and put their energy into trying to beat Michigan. So it's a new sheriff in town this year, and it's LSU, Tigers, and Ed Ogeron. That's what I just wanted to say today.
Well, good to have you on. Thank you. New Tiger and a new sheriff, not a new Tiger. Christian is up next in Florida. Hello, Christian.
Happy holidays, Finebaum. How you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you. First off, it looks like we could have some good competition in the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years because, let's be honest, last year with Notre Dame, I mean, they don't have a conference, right?
Well, no, they don't. They rent space in the ACC.
Right. And I also wanted to mention I got a pretty good start on my career, I would assume, in broadcasting. I started a YouTube sports channel.
Wow. Well, so tell us about that. I'm thinking about doing the same thing.
Well, I mean, I started it this week. I really only have a couple of videos up so far.
Tell me this, Christian, because I'm always looking for my next career. How do you start your own YouTube channel?
Well, I mean, it has to do. I mean, you just got to have a Google account, and if you're on YouTube, really, you could, I guess, upload videos. I haven't done much yet, but I think it's a pretty good start.
Well, that is a good start.
Yeah, and then I'm also I'm looking forward to the Army-Navy game. It's always a good matchup, and you know, just prayers and, you know, thankful for everyone who serves. And, you know, it's more than just, you know, watching a football game. It's about the people who, you know, every day they're risking their lives, and, you know, those who just, you know, they show how much they care about this country, those who serve in the Army and the Navy and everywhere. So. Well,
thank you very much, Christian. Good luck with your career, and don't forget a guy like me who may be out there with a resume and a YouTube account in my future. Thank you for the call. You guys want to do a YouTube show? No? Okay. I was just thought, you know, I'm always looking for the next big killing. Let's take a break. More to come. Your phone calls are.
Springer, right?
Or are we? Yes, we are. My name is Paul Finebaum, and this is the Paul Finebaum Show. Have I ever said that before? I've always wanted to say my name a couple of times. Welcome to the program. It is Friday. Are we in a giddy mood? Yes, we are. Any reason for that? We have no idea. Put your seatbelt on. 4 hours of LSU conversation. This is the LSU Network. It might as well be LSU cleaning up at the College Football Awards. Maxwell Biletnikoff. Try saying that after a beer. Look at Joe Burrow. AP Player of the Year. Maxwell. Davey O'Brien. You think he might win the Heisman? Jamar Chase. Biletnikoff. Delpit. Best DB. Ojara. Coach of the Year. Mike the Tiger. Tiger of the Year. So, AP, POI, Davey, all these guys have done it, and guess what they've also done? No, they've made a lot of money, but they won the Heisman. Listen, what a night at the College Football Awards ceremony. It was a lot of crawfish etouffee down in Baton Rouge. What did you expect? I mean, did you expect something other than Joe Burrow and everybody on that team? I mean, this is the best team in college football, with all due respect to the Clemson Tigers. So who's not good? That's you, Pac-12. We are looking at you. Larry Scott, always good with a pithy quote after his teams get knocked out of the playoff. Missing playoff is harmful to the league. Well, Larry, guess what? Get used to it, pal. It has been a long, long, long time since the Pac-12 mattered. Remember Oregon? They did have Washington a couple of years ago. It didn't last long. McCaffrey, whatever happened to him? Is he still playing football? Seems like it. Yeah. Let's be honest. The league sucks. You can tell we all went out for happy hour today. The staff Christmas party was not today, but we acted like it was. Anyway, we have a big show on tap, and it starts with the pitmaster, Sam Pittman. We'll ask him if he really is going to hire Barry Odom. Will Healy, do you know that name? Hot coach. Charlotte's going to a bowl game. A couple of years ago, they were a laughingstock. Jimmy Burrow, our man, on the scene in Times Square, Joe's dad. And continuing our theme of the Army-Navy game, we had both coaches yesterday. Today we have retired Major General Vincent Bowles. Nice. Are we in a good mood?
Absolutely.
We're a week away from the Christmas break. I'm ready for Christmas, aren't you? Mm-hmm. I'm available for presidents and presents, in case... Oh, man. Listen, I don't drink, and they said, come on, let's chug some eggnog, and I did it, and now I don't really know where I am. I barely got into the studio on time. Did I tell you my name is Paul Finebaum? Have I said that already? Okay. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. Anyway, we're having a good time today because it's Friday. And then, by the way, this is our first in-studio show on Fridays since August. So I'm not suffering out there in the cold and rain. That's right. That makes me happy. Let's get to the calls at 855-242-7285, and Jeremy is in Texas, and you're on the air. Jeremy, you there?
Oh, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much.
All right. I would like to talk about the Arkansas job here for a second. I understand Chad Morris, 2-10, 5-7, 7-5 at SMU. I kind of question the reason why they would possibly potentially hire him. I understand now that they have a new coach coming in, Pittman. I think he would be a great motivator, but I'm kind of questioning his coaching ability. I think the administration should have gone another route. I feel that they missed that opportunity.
Okay, let me ask you, Jeremy. I always like to. I'm not being difficult here, but if you tell me a name of someone they should have hired.
Well, I think that they could have gone another route by getting, let's say, a Craig Bowl from Wyoming or a Chris Kleiman, who they had the opportunity, I feel, 3 years ago to come from North Dakota State and come to Arkansas.
Okay.
These guys have proven track records
You're right.
of not only taking two to three-star players and actually making them into pure athletes and actually making them into superstars. We're talking about a Carson Wentz being a 2-star athlete. Now he's a first-round pick as a quarterback with Philadelphia.
No, you're right.
Also Buffalo, Josh Allen, 2-star athlete. I feel that you have to be able to find those gems in recruiting, and I feel that those two coaches have proven themselves as recruiters, and I feel that they could be better motivators, and also important for the Arkansas program to kind of build themselves up a little bit. When we think about Arkansas football, we think about power football. Those two coaches teach power football. I feel that that would have been a great route. And this is coming from an LSU fan. I would like the rivalry to get back to a basis of, okay, it's competitive. Right now, it's not competitive.
Well, listen, we've seen what happened this year at Kansas State. To your point, I don't know the answer to your question. I will meet Sam Pittman for the first time here in a few minutes. I'm really looking forward to it. I hear good things about him. But, if you had said to me a week ago, hey, there's $1 million on the line, you've got 10 shots at getting the Arkansas coach right, I wouldn't have gotten it.
Right.
Maybe 20 shots.
Completely understand.
Maybe 40 shots. But anyway, thanks for the call. Maybe $100 I could have gotten out of that. Forget $1 million. James is in Baton Rouge. Hello, James.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
We're
Happy
good.
holidays to you.
Thank you very much.
And chill out on that eggnog.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, I was calling just a couple things about these Alabama fans. Squirrel and what's his name? Squirrel and Larry. I was listening to them yesterday.
Curly, Larry, and Moe.
They're in withdrawals, I think. But they got to realize Alabama's been getting the benefit of the doubt for quite a few years. Twice they've made it to the show without even winning their own division, let alone the championship.
You're right.
So what they need to do, they need to suck it up, stop all this crying and talking bad about Ed Ogeron and Burrow, and just look for and put their energy into trying to beat Michigan. So it's a new sheriff in town this year, and it's LSU Tigers and Ed Ogeron. That's what I just wanted to say today.
Well, good to have you on. Thank you. New Tiger and a new sheriff, not a new Tiger. Christian is up next in Florida. Hello, Christian.
Happy holidays, Finebaum. How you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you. First off, it looks like we could have some good competition in the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years because, let's be honest, last year with Notre Dame, they don't have a conference, right?
Well, no, they don't. They rent space in the ACC.
Right. And I also wanted to mention I got a pretty good start on my career, I would assume, in broadcasting. I started a YouTube sports channel.
Wow. Well, so tell us about that. I'm thinking about doing the same thing.
Well, I started it this week. I really only have a couple videos up so far.
Tell me this, Christian, because I'm always looking for my next career. How do you start your own YouTube channel?
Well, it has to do. You just got to have a Google account, and if you're on YouTube, really, you could, I guess, upload videos. I haven't done much yet, but I think it's a pretty good start.
Well, that is a good start.
Yeah, and then I'm also I'm looking forward to the Army-Navy game. It's always a good matchup, and just prayers and thankful for everyone who serves, and it's more than just watching a football game. It's about the people who every day they're risking their lives, and those who just they show how much they care about this country. Those who serve in the Army and the Navy and everywhere. So. Well,
thank you very much, Christian. Good luck with your career, and don't forget a guy like me who may be out there with a resume and a YouTube account in my future. Thank you for the call. You guys want to do a YouTube show? No. Okay. I was just thought, I'm always looking for the next big killing. Let's take a break. More to come. Your phone calls are. The woes out west continue. They've been to the playoff twice. Oregon made it to the championship game. Washington got run over by the Tide. They don't get any good recruits. Even the players from California are saying, forget it. Southern Cal, that's the only class, that is amazing. Oh, man. It wasn't long ago, guys, when I thought the Pac-12 had the best coaches in the country.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Listen.
Pete Carroll days?
Are you talking Pete Carroll or are you talking playoff era?
I don't remember. It's been too long.
It was so long ago.
But I like how people like Larry Scott. Let's be honest here, Paul. Whose fault is it?
Listen, it is not Larry Scott's fault that the recruiting is down.
True.
That's fair.
It's fair.
But is it also fair that nobody sees the games because they're on at
that
different times?
is his fault. I mean, he started the Pac-12 network, which I've never seen. Listen, give the Big Ten credit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They tried something new this year, and it blew the television industry away. They played a noon game, big noon. It's the hottest thing. I know I'm going to get in trouble with my bosses in New York and Bristol, but it was the hottest thing in television this year. They got Urban Meyer on their pregame show, which was, in the one or two times I saw the pregame show, it was quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And those games drew big numbers. Nobody in how many SEC coaches have complained about playing that early game? And the Big Ten made something out of it in Jim Delaney's final year. Larry Scott's done nothing right.
No, but it also comes down to that one school, USC, which has been average at best in the playoff era, and
listen,
they kept an average coach.
UCLA went out and hired the hottest coach available. He's been a disaster.
How's Kevin Sumlin doing in Arizona?
He's about to get fired.
It's rough out there.
Washington just has a new coach.
I mean, Herm Edwards has been one of the biggest surprises, and that looked like the worst hire of them all. Welcome back. Really glad you are with us, and let's talk to Michael, who is up next. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We are doing great.
It's long-time fan, first-time caller. I've tried to get through. You're a pretty popular guy, Paul. It's not always easy to
Well,
get
listen,
through.
I am glad you made it in. That means a lot to us.
I'm glad I made it in, too. Well, I'm up here in North Dakota, a big LSU fan from Louisiana. And first, I just want to say, I'm super proud of the awards last night and everything they've accomplished. And I don't know, I just wanted to get your take on, their chances in the playoffs. How do what do you see them doing? What kind of, what matchup maybe you're looking for best in the national championship? What's the most intriguing matchup you think?
Well, listen, I think once they dispose of Oklahoma, which they will, I don't think it matters. I mean, I think they're both intriguing matchups. I would rather see Ohio State because if I could whisper this to you and nobody here, I'm getting sick of seeing Clemson in the championship game, aren't you?
Yes, I definitely am. I'm with you behind 100%.
I mean, the idea of listening to Dabo Swinney chirp for 2 weeks leading into that's more than I can handle.
I agree with you definitely on that, Paul. You've definitely been giving him.
Remember when you were a kid? I mean, again, I don't know how. Maybe you're significantly younger, but my sister had a doll called Chatty Cathy. Remember, you would pull that little thing, and she just and the doll just talked incessantly. It made no sense.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about.
I probably dated myself there, didn't I?
Yeah,
well, I never really dated myself, but.
It's all good. Years of wisdom, Paul. Years of wisdom.
Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it very, very much. Fireball. Used to be the name of a famous driver. Hey, Fireball.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Y'all are doing great.
I know, Paul, you hear that all the time. Now, Paul asked me how I'm doing.
How you doing there, Fireball?
It ain't nothing to it, just like my paycheck.
Ooh.
But,
At least hey, listen, Fireball, don't ever complain about a paycheck.
Oh, no. But
you could be like me and don't get one.
Sometimes. That's right. I tried to get in yesterday, and I couldn't do it. But I don't see why in the world, even knowing I'm a diehard Alabama fan, there's not anyone else more diehard than I am.
No.
But we're out of it. Sure, we lost 2 games with a 8-point difference in both games. But we had players, number one starters, hurt.
Yeah,
throughout the whole year.
and you know what? You know what's so sad, Fireball? Alabama was the only school in the country that lost starters this year.
No, you can't make me believe that. But anyway,
Well, it sounds like it.
But I just can't understand why, if your team's in the whatever conference and they're out of it, why can't you pull for that conference? Just like
but I have to ask this question again. Does it really matter who people pull for?
Well, to some people it does, because Squirrel, I mean, I'm proud for LSU. They worked hard at it.
Squirrel to me is. I'm gonna quit talking about Squirrel. He's a good friend of mine, and I feel badly that we're at odds over this.
Yeah, well, I mean, we enjoy.
Now Larry's a different story. Larry's just a clown.
Yeah. Well, he just that's Larry for you.
Larry can't help himself. Larry's kind of like that. You ever have that, like that addled uncle? You go, oh my goodness. Uncle John's here for Thanksgiving. And he kind of stumbles in and he falls right into the picture on the wall.
He's like Otis.
Yeah. I don't want to date myself by using Otis references from Andy Griffith. Hey, I mean, you only know I'm not going to try to act like I grew up in the 90s. I mean, I was a product of black and white television as a kid. Think about that, kids.
And no remote control.
Rick from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
What's that? What's happening?
How are you?
How's it at? I mean, don't New Jersey people always end sentences with prepositions?
Well, it depends on where you're at, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Well, give me the geographical differentiation.
Well, I'm a clam digger here from the Jersey Shore.
Oh no, that doesn't.
So you're talking about North Jersey people.
Yeah, you're right. You're
it's a little bit different.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yes.
Hey, you want me for some coffee at Asbury Park?
Absolutely, because I live right next to Asbury Park.
Yeah, let's go. Maybe we'll run into the boss.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I understand he's around. Listen, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you. Last week you made a remark about Coach Saban.
Okay.
Being 68 years old, and
right.
I guess he's ready for the retirement.
No, Rick. Listen.
That's the way I
don't believe I said that.
Yeah, you kind of, the way I took it was, he's getting on. He's 68, and that's the way I took it. Now,
I don't care how you took it. I'll tell you what I said.
Okay, go ahead.
I said he's 68 years old, and I believe the window of him winning national championships is closing. Closing and closed are two different things. Even in Jersey.
Right. Now I'm telling you what, and I'll tell you why I was a little annoyed.
Well, go ahead.
I just completed my 31st year of being an assistant high school football coach here.
Well, congratulations.
And I'm 71 years old, so I took
goodness.
it that you're telling me I'm too old to coach. That's the way I took it.
Rick, I don't know where you get this idea. I mean, you know what you're starting to sound like?
What's that?
A sports talk show host. You're putting words in my mouth.
Listen,
coaches aren't supposed to do that. Hey, listen, first of all, before you say another word.
Yes, sir.
I can't tell you how impressed I am that you're coaching at 71 and you've coached that long, because people don't appreciate the work that high school coaches put in,
right?
And
thank you very
the
much.
lack of rewards that they get monetarily. Although I know you get them from many other different directions. So my heart goes out to you, and
that's not.
You do good work.
We get paid next to nothing if you compare us to Texas, but
I know. Okay, but go ahead, make your point.
No, I was going to say I think I coach at the toughest level. I coach high school freshmen.
No, my goodness.
And as you know, every year we get a new deck of cards to play.
Sure.
And I find freshmen to be the most exasperating, hilarious, and most rewarding thing that you could do, coaching football. The biggest thing I get out of it, of course, is the improvement that the kids make from the first time they show up. We get a lot of kids that never played
Rick,
football, never wore equipment.
At 71, what's your future look like?
Oh, I'm going to keep on going.
Okay.
I'm in pretty good health. I work out, still go to the gym.
Oh, good.
Been doing that for 50 years. So I've been rooting for Alabama since Pat Trammell there was the quarterback.
Oh, my goodness.
So
You're going way back.
I go way back. So for what's happened to Alabama, the only thing I can say about that is this. I've been up to the mountaintop, and I've been down in the valley, and I've been up to the mountaintop.
As I walk through the
and I've been
valley
down
of
in
the
the
shadow
valley.
of death, I fear no evil.
Yep, and I've been up to the mountaintop. So, like I tell a lot of people, listen, as you go, enjoy the ride. The law of averages catches up with everybody sooner or later. I think, okay, they slipped a little bit, but that's, we have next year and the year after and the year after that.
Rick, I have to go to a break here because we have a coach waiting. But
okay.
First of all, we don't have any disagreements. I'm impressed with.
No, I'm just kidding you around because I took it. Geez, he thinks he's old. I must be ancient.
Yeah, well, you are.
I know.
I'm just kidding. Hey, Rick, all the best to you, my friend. I mean, listen, I like a guy like that. I'm going to make a vow here as we head to the break. I am never going to speak of Nick Saban again. I said something last week that was an honest analysis, and I'm still trying to dig myself out of the interpretation of what I said. Speaking of that, our next guest is the new head coach at the University of Arkansas. We are excited to meet Sam Pittman. He is going to be with us live right after this.
That you just brought up for Sam Pittman that took, can you believe, 4 weeks for Arkansas to find itself a head coach? And you asked me for what went on with Hunter Yurachek behind the scenes. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention to you, the last time we talked a couple of weeks ago, all signs were pointing elsewhere. And so, did Arkansas end up getting the number 1, number 2, top 5 kind of candidate on their board? I don't think they got the top guy or two, but they certainly got somebody who wanted the job. And truthfully, this is a tough job right now, as you well know, and a job that is not in high demand for big-time coaches. So they probably didn't get their first or second choice, but they definitely got the guy who wanted the job more than anybody else. I think, Arkansas was interested in a guy like Lane Kiffin, who I thought, represented really well on your show, talking about his interest in Mississippi and a chance at the SEC again. And there's still some talk around here right now about what exactly went on behind the scenes. I heard a caller on your show just a little while ago who I think is privy to the same information I am, that Arkansas was deeply interested in Lane Kiffin and went pretty hard after him. And then, as you said yourself a few minutes ago, Paul, I'm hearing the same thing, that things didn't go much beyond that once we got into the middle of last week, it was very evident that Lane was not interested in Arkansas. And so what did that mean? That meant the Hogs were scrambling. And what they did was they went out and got a couple coaches some good raises. Matt Campbell at Iowa State, Mike Leach at Washington State. Both guys interviewed with Arkansas. Both guys got more money to stay put. And Arkansas ended up going after Sam Pittman, who, as you well know, was already an offensive line coach here for 3 years under Brett Bielema. I thought Sam Pittman came in and, truthfully, he looked like a guy who was grateful for the opportunity to be a head coach finally. I thought you saw genuine emotion and enthusiasm. You saw some tears of happiness that I thought were real, and I thought that was a good moment. The folks in the room clearly on his side. Paul, he's got family throughout this area. He is one of those guys, folks in Arkansas, I mean, he's from Oklahoma originally, but folks in Arkansas would call Pittman a Razorback through and through. And if you look at what happened with him under Brett Bielema, a guy who tried to play, bully ball, big guy football at the line of scrimmage, and then when Sam Pittman left and went to Georgia and joined Kirby Smart, you saw how Georgia just descended on the offensive line, and Arkansas has been a disaster ever since. So Pittman pointed to that. He pointed to his recruiting. He pointed to wanting the job. I thought he looked a little bit tired, like a guy who'd probably been in a whirlwind for the last day or two, like he admitted he was. But, did he win the room? It's pretty hard not to on a day where folks are feeling more relief than anything.
We welcome you back to our program on a Friday afternoon. We have been really looking forward to this conversation for a couple of days now since Sam Pittman was named as the head coach of the University of Arkansas Razorbacks, coming to Arkansas from Georgia. Coach Pittman joining us now from Fayetteville. Coach, congratulations, and thank you very much for being here.
Well, Paul, I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Listen, we've been talking for days about how surprised the public was when they heard that you had been named. I'm guessing at some point you were pretty surprised to get in the middle of it as well.
Yes, I was. You know, I was surprised and very grateful and very happy to have the opportunity. But yeah, it all happened pretty fast, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I mean this with the utmost respect. But how did you first come to the conclusion or come to the realization that you were in the mix?
Well, it would have been sometime Sunday morning, and I got a call and I called my wife and I said, hey, you know, I think we're going to have a shot here. And of course, obviously, we're very excited. And then throughout the day, it just started happening a little bit.
What do you think it says, Coach? Because I mean, you have you've been a great position coach, and your reputation in Georgia and really as a recruiter is superb.
Thank you.
But a lot of guys never get that opportunity, and you know that because you've been one of those guys. So what do you think it says to so many of your colleagues out there in the country that you finally have landed one of the plum jobs in the SEC and around the country?
Well, I think it gives guys like myself hope. You know, I don't know how many guys could have this opportunity, and so I think it just says that there's hope out there. Just keep trying to do good at the job that you're currently in, and you know, obviously you have to recruit or you're not going to have a chance to get one of these jobs.
And certainly, do you think your reputation, I mean, listen, your reputation as a line coach and recruiter really mattered, but especially as a recruiter, because I've talked to people, I know you've gotten some big-time players. I remember the young man out of Alabama that came over not long ago, other players as well that some people wondered, like, it took a personal relationship to make that for the player to make that decision.
Well, it does, and you know, I mean, you have to recruit the kid, the mom, the coach, sometimes here at the University of Arkansas, the state. So, but it's just time. I know everybody works very hard and all that, but in order to really sign an elite player, you have to make it so hard on him that he doesn't feel like he can tell you no.
Do you think also, Coach, having familiarity with that program under Coach Bielema was a tremendous asset to you? Because you know, sometimes you walk into a place you've never been, it is far more difficult than one that you have already lived in and done.
Well, I certainly think it had a lot to do with it, Paul. And you know, my wife and I had already bought a lot on the lake down in Hot Springs, so this was kind of home coming back, and with us already being here in Fayetteville and knowing the culture of the state of Arkansas and the fans, I think that had a whole lot to do with it.
Coach, I know things are crazy. I mean, recruiting is coming to an end and signing day is around the corner, and it's been hard to have a lot of time to breathe, but there's been some speculation out there that you might bring in Barry Odom, the highly respected coach from Missouri. Can you comment on that?
Well, I can tell you this, that I'm ecstatic that he's in his car headed down to Fayetteville as we speak. Yes, I'm ecstatic. Really, you know, Paul, I felt like I needed a guy on my staff that had been a head coach and one that I could lean on and talk to. And there's really not a better person out there and a finer coach, finer man than Barry Odom. And I'm just blessed he's in his car coming down here.
I know this. My job is supposed to interview you and not give commentary as we're talking, but I have to tell you, Coach, knowing Barry Odom, that's one of the smartest things I have heard from a coach in a long time, because he does. I mean, forget his defensive prowess. We all know how good he is, but his experience, I cannot imagine I can only imagine would be of great service to you.
There's no doubt, and when I interviewed Paul, I said, you know, I think I can put together an outstanding staff, but I want on that staff some people that's had head coaching experience, and if I could get Barry, who's been a head coach in the Southeastern Conference, I just thought it'd be so much help to me, and I'm sure that it will.
I know the job now is to recruit and to put a staff together, but I heard you say something the other day, and I really wasn't moved by it, but the genuine excitement. A lot of times you get to a certain state in life, and most of the people that aren't of a certain age can interpret that any way they want. But I mean, you don't get these opportunities. But you seem genuinely just ecstatic to be where you are right now.
You know, I really believe that Arkansas is the greatest job in the country, and I do. And it's a different type job because the state of Arkansas are different people. You know, we're the only show in the state. You know, there is Arkansas State, excuse me, but we're the only SEC school in the state. There's no pro teams here. The state of Arkansas loves the Hogs, and it's a very special place. And you know, when I was a kid, Paul, I grew up about 75 miles from here, and I was a Hog fan back then, and just really never have lost the love for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Well, the questions will come fast and furious about turning this program around. And listen, we all know the record. There's no reason to harp on that. But how do you do it? How do you make this program viable again?
Well, I think it's just hard work. I told them in my interview, I think we have to recruit our way out of this thing, and I think we can. We have very fine facilities here and a great administration. So there's really not a reason why Arkansas can't get back to the glory days. We needed to have the money to hire assistant coaches. They gave it to me. And we needed to have the support of the administration and the chancellor, and we had that too. But the facilities are here. We just have to get kids on campus, and I think we can certainly help ourselves once we get them on campus, because there's not a lot of people that know what we truly have here at the university.
And I will say that as someone who's been there a lot of times, I mean, that is a unique place. It's a special place. It's a beautiful place too.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. And they, you know, I think they just recently put in $7.5 million in the end zone for a new locker room for game day and things of that nature. So the money's here, the commitment's here. We just have to get the players here.
And when you've already been out there, and when you're talking to players, I know you've gotten some good results already, but you know, sales pitch is overdone. I mean, you seem like a guy that just looks somebody in the eye and say, "Listen,
that's right."
How do you recruit?
Well, the same way that I received the opportunity to be the head coach at Arkansas, there's opportunity here. You know, we're not deep on our roster, even though we have 14 starters coming back and those things, but there's great opportunity, and everybody wants to play early in their career. And with that said, I do believe that we have and will continue to get some of the best assistant coaches in the country. So you have assistant coaches who are going to love and care, mentor these kids, and then, of course, you have the opportunity to get on the field early.
Coach, it's somewhat of a loaded question to ask about expectations, and a lot of coaches hate that. But I am interested in as you look ahead to what this program is capable of in terms of success. What is it?
Wow, that was a good question, Paul. You know, I think that I know we can win here. I know it's going to take some time, and we understand that. The state understands, the administration understands that. But I think as long as we show improvement and show that we are a physical, tough, relentless type football team, we're well coached, I think we can win football games. You know, when I came in here with Brett, we were 3-9, and then we went 7-6. Then they went 8-5, and they were kind of headed in the direction of where the Razorback Nation wanted them to be, and then it fell off again. But I think we can stride and get to that point again. How long it takes, I don't know. But obviously, I would not have taken this job if I didn't believe that we could win here. Even though obviously the pay salary was different and all those things, I wanted to win, and I believe that I was the guy that they could hire to win for the Razorbacks.
We got your reaction as we and by the way, we're gonna we're gonna go into our treasury here at the SEC Network and buy you one of those earpieces that fit.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. It keeps popping out.
No, listen,
Paul, I put it as far down in my ears.
Don't lose
it.
it. Whatever you do, Coach. We talked about your reaction. I'm really interested in your family's reaction to when this was made official.
Oh, it was awesome. You know, my wife and I went into the bedroom. We called her mother and father and my brother and my 3 sisters and asked them if they knew how to call them hogs and all that kind of stuff. It was just awesome. And then yesterday on the recruiting trail, I got an opportunity to tell my dad I was the head coach at Arkansas, and it was awesome. It was just awesome. It hadn't been a job for 5 days. It's been the greatest 5 days of my coaching life.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't know you. I know of your reputation, and like a lot of people, we all shook our head when we heard the news. But
That's right.
I'm not shaking anymore.
Thank you.
Really impressed with what you've had to say here, and the Coach Odom hire too. Coach, come back soon. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for being good to me. You've always been good to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Wow. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to expect, but I liked what I saw there. That was very impressive. And again, if you missed the beginning of the conversation, he did confirm that Barry Odom is in his car right now driving to Arkansas to become the new defensive coordinator. That's a big story. We'll take a break. More to come after this. So this is what Coach has to deal with next year. At Notre Dame, second game of the year, that's always a good one to get an indoctrination into big-time college football. Alabama, Tennessee, the crossover.
Alabama, LSU in back-to-back weeks.
That's
Ouch.
easy.
Welcome to the SEC West.
How about Barry Odom going back to Missouri on the 28th?
That's cool.
I like that.
That's
wait,
cool.
No. That game's going to be in Kansas City.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You're right. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Barry Odom going to Kansas City.
yeah, exactly.
All right, Paul. So impressions.
Listen, can't help but like the guy. I mean, when he said after getting the job he took his wife into the bedroom, he got my attention.
right, yeah. We didn't know where it was going at that point for sure.
I like it. First time we've heard from Coach, besides the press conference, and he's out recruiting, he's out doing his stuff, and like you said, you got to build. You got to continue to build to get Razorback football back where it always where it was.
Chad Morris won the press conference. He was slick. He sold everybody a bill of goods, and you know what? The check bounced.
Yeah, most explosive offense in the country never really materialized.
Yeah, I got ties to Texas. I'm gonna go recruit those boys down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I thought Coach Pittman. he wrested his son away from Dabo's clutches, but yeah, I thought Coach Pittman was pretty realistic. It seemed like about what the challenge is there, and that maybe the best pitch he has to some of these athletes is playing time and the availability to get on the field in a thin roster. But hey, that you can start there and build something from that for sure if you coach them up, right?
Yeah, I mean, Paul, the big thing about Arkansas, right? You want to take all the kids from the state and make sure they go to Arkansas. Do you start something like that?
Well, there's not enough players to matter. But you have, and maybe because I'm from the South and grew up on the Arkansas border, not that border, but you just have to be relatable, and this guy was relatable. He wasn't a snake oil salesman. He was just down home. 1,000 country songs have been written about guys like Coach. Welcome back. Glad you are with us, and let's check in with Andre. Andre, good afternoon.
Coach Brooke Benton says a rainy night in Georgia.
Feels like it's raining all over the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Coach. Look, Coach, what a great interview.
Thank you.
The problem is he seems like a real nice guy.
He does. I'd like to have him as like a brother-in-law.
Right. The problem is, Coach, he's in the mighty SEC West.
He is, so you're right about that.
You go on 24/7 Sport right now, the top 10 teams in recruiting, 6 of them are from the SEC. Well, 4 of those 6 are from the SEC West. And you know who they are, Coach.
Oh, sure.
So that's the problem he's dealing with. And
well, I remember Andre a couple of years ago. I was interviewing Kevin Sumlin. It was early. Right. It was like in 2014, and it was on National Signing Day, and they came in.
I can tell you what he told you.
Go ahead.
And yeah, well, see, that year there, he finished third in recruiting, and he told you, I got two more teams from the same division over me, and it was LSU and Alabama.
You're absolutely right. I mean, he finished in the top 3 in the country, but he was third in the SEC West.
Right. And I would tell the coach to go to Texas and hire some of the top high school coaches and bring them in to help him to recruit, like Rule did at Baylor, because that's where they're going to have to get most of their talent from is Texas. What do you think, Coach Finebaum?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's where Arkansas has to go, and I'm not a recruiting guru. I just know Arkansas is a small state. And, yeah, it's produced some great players in the past, but you're not going to survive just on that. And you have to be smart. The fact that he's a line coach, I think, will tell you that he'll build from the front back, and that's important.
Well, Coach, I always say it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's. And if you don't have talent, you're not going to win. That's just how it goes. You may sneak up on somebody and win a game every now and then, but you're not going to get to the top of the ladder and be consistent with 1 and 2 stars. It just doesn't work like that. And when people say that these recruiting rankings are not valid, are not worthy, well, you know what? Go look at these national championship winners. These coaches that say that, they're not recruiting at the top of the food chain. Thank you, Coach Finebaum.
Thank you very much. Great to have you on. Let's check in with Poodle next. Hey, Poodle.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, did you ever finish watching that HBO special with Belichick?
I must say, sadly, no. I started watching it the other night in New York, and I still have half of it to watch, which I will do this weekend. How was it? Did you see it?
Yes, sir. It was a great show. I was really, they really meant the way I took it that Nick Saban and Miss Terry was staying at Belichick.
Right. Parents' house.
Daddy's
house.
Yeah, and he come, and that's how they met, you know. And then when he got that coaching job, he thought, you know, Belichick did, he's going to call Saban. And, you know, and it went from there, you know, two of the best coaches I think I've ever seen.
Oh, there's no question. They're the best, and they're the two best.
You know, Bear Bryant, I've seen him coach, and I've been lucky. But, Paul, I want to tell you, I'm an Alabama fan through and through, but I'm SSC, and I'm pulling for LSU. I'd pull for Auburn and anybody else, but I've had a stroke, and I'm doing something better, but I'm bed rest, but I enjoy and I look for your show every day, and I've got to watching on Get Up and Steven's show. Man, it's a joy. I tell you, I love sports, and I want to tell you how good of a job.
Well, I tell you what, Poodle. Let me say this to you, and I sincerely hope that your health continues in recovery, and it sounds like you're doing really great. So stay in touch. All the best, my friend.
Last week was ring week. We knew that we were playing for a championship, and the most important thing for us was to finish the season the right way. And we won the championship. We were celebrating. I go in, check my phone, and my agent had left me a message, said that Missouri was on their way to meet with me and wanted to set up a meeting with me. My daughter was performing in the Nutcracker at 7 p.m., and so I said, well, I got to go watch the Nutcracker because I'm a father first, and then we'll figure all that stuff out. And then, I mean, as everybody understands in this business, things move incredibly fast. And so next thing you know, I'm on the Paul Finebaum show as the head coach of the SEC. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? I distinctly remember one of my first jobs at Auburn was to drive up to Huntsville, Alabama, and pick up Coach Chiswick and drive him to the High School Coaches Association clinic. And I'll distinctly remember I took the wrong turn, and Coach Chiswick was in the passenger side, and Trooper Taylor was behind me. And so I cut a U-turn on the middle of the road, and Trooper Taylor still gives me crap about that. You can never cut a U-turn in the middle of the road with the head football coach of an SEC school, but that's when I knew I was going to be able to make it in this thing. You have to make tough decisions, and at that point I had to get him to where he needed to be, which was at the coaches clinic. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I got to decide what's important versus what's urgent. You know, not everything that's urgent is important, and not everything that's important is urgent. So that's what we're deciphering through. The most important thing for me was yesterday getting in front of my football team and putting my arms around them and clearly portraying who I am as a person and who I am as a football coach to them. And then today it's been, you know, presenting myself to our alumni, to our fan base, to everybody that touches Mizzou football. And then, you know, I got my phone on me right now. I've been texting, calling, recruiting. I'm going to be on a plane later tonight and getting in people's homes. And that's what we got to do. And as we're doing that, then I've got to formulate the plan for what we're going to do with our staff and how we're going to fill that in and how we're going to continue to move Mizzou football forward and how we're going to compete for the SEC East. And at the end of the day, that's why they hired me to do this job. It's so we can compete in the SEC East. And we all know that if you're competing in the SEC East, then that means you're competing at the national level. Well, we've got a full recruiting staff. They're still in place, and there's guys here still that are helping me recruit, and that's what I'm leaning on for them to do right now. And then I got to do the heavy lifting. I mean, they don't pay us this kind of money for us to delegate it to other people. That's our jobs. So I'm out there and recruiting, and that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's what I'm going to get done. And coffee's my best friend right now.
Oh, it's not Jerry Springer, right?
Welcome back. We've had a really good time this week. We had both the coaches from Army and Navy on, and today Will Healy, who's a coach at Charlotte, which a couple of years ago, let's be honest, was a laughingstock. But it is no more. They're going bowling this year. And Coach, thanks for being on. Congratulations. This is a relatively new program, but it is off and running, going to a bowl game.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here. Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible. Took over in December. Feels like it's been about 7 years wrapped up into one, but been an amazing season and a lot of fun to be a part of.
Well, you grew up in Tennessee, in Chattanooga. You coached at Austin Peay, so you know the South. And by the way, I'm from Tennessee, and I'm still trying to figure out if this is the South, although I'm told it is.
Some people would argue with you in Tennessee, but I think it's part of the South.
It really is. Legally, it was the South. But we want to share with the audience, especially those of you watching. So those of you listening, you'll be able to figure out. But this is you getting ready for the trip to the Bahamas.
Working out really hard. You can tell. Got a really good strength coach. He's got me going. So. Thought no better way to show the Bahamas than a snorkel and a cutoff.
And when you found out where you were going, things were crackling over there on the campus.
Yeah, that's the Lee Corso Norm Head. Had to throw it off, make sure people knew who I was. Like you couldn't tell with my dad bod anyway. It's called Club Lit, and it is part of enjoying success and celebrating after a win. So we got a DJ in there, got a disco ball, and I usually try to find something creative to do at the end of each win.
You know what? I just thought of this. It's such a great end to the college football season, especially at a school that sadly has been through a very difficult year early in the year with the unfortunate events that occurred over there. It had to be just a cathartic event to end this year on such a great note.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the last home game of the year, senior day, right? A group of seniors that, I mean, they didn't pick me. You know, I wanted them. And you got a chance to play Marshall in the pouring down rain with the first chance to win 6 games in school history, be bowl eligible in school, you know, first time in school history. And you find a way to win at home, you know, in a really good late game and find a way to put it away late. Fans storm the field, you know, for once, football was important to the student body, and it's becoming relevant in Charlotte, and all the things that you hoped you would accomplish and make it cool to play football at Charlotte, you're starting to feel some of that. And that was a culmination at Marshall for sure.
I'm wondering, because I've watched this before, and we had Bill Clark on not too long ago, who had to deal with fighting Alabama down the road in Auburn, and then they shut his program down, and then he built it back up. And there was a sense in years past, Coach, that urban schools, cities, and schools in big cities just couldn't make it. So I'm really interested how this program has lifted off, and I know the crowds have been good. I live here, and I've kept up with it fairly closely. It's been a remarkable story.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference is, there's always a South Carolina, a Clemson, a Duke, a Virginia, what ACC, SEC game that's going on at the same time we're playing.
Right.
And I think what makes us unique is accessibility. And I say to our players all the time, if they know you and they like you, they'll come pull for you. It's a heck of a lot easier to get out of our parking garage than it is at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's true.
It's different when the head football coach or the defensive coordinator or the starting running back is going around saying, thank you for coming to practice, great to meet you. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you build a fan base where people pull for you because they like you. And, our guys have a rule. They go shake 4 hands every day in class. And that is, now you go from getting, 800 students to a game to 5,300 students at a game because they like our players. They understand they're not just some jocks sitting in the back of the room, these entitled guys that feel like they deserve the world, that they're students, and that they're likable. And it's our job to do the same thing in this city. Make sure that people know us. They want to come pull for us. We make it hard on them to go 2 hours down the road to a South Carolina game. And I think, to me, at this level, that's how you build support.
And listen, you get great exposure. I mean, you played Clemson this year, I think?
We did.
That has to be – it's never easy playing Clemson for anyone. South Carolina just lost to them rather badly at home. But what was that experience like for your program?
Incredible until the ball was kicked off. There's no doubt about it. I was at Austin Peay when we played Georgia. We'll open up at Tennessee next year at Charlotte, and those are big games. We'll play Duke. Down the road we'll play South Carolina. We'll play Florida. We have home and homes coming up with Duke, North Carolina, and Maryland. Well, they'll come to our place. So it's great exposure. It's incredible. And I tell it in recruiting, it's a chance to play against the biggest, baddest guys in the country. Obviously we've got a couple guys that have dreams of playing in the NFL, and that's the first film they're going to turn on. If you can compete against Clemson, then you may have an opportunity to play in the National Football League. So it's great exposure, number one. It gives us a great test for our football program, and obviously learning from what Dabo's doing, and he's a guy I've looked up to for a long time. Sure. So a great environment.
And I don't think people realize that programs like this have good players. FAU has one of the top players at his position in the country. Other players do. All the great players don't go to Clemson, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. They get lost in the shuffle.
Well, now in the NFL, you look at rosters, and you're talking probably 40% of guys are either from group of 5 schools or FCS schools. And we have 3 guys this year that'll play in the East-West game. That have legitimate opportunities to possibly be combine-type guys that, have draftable-type grades. 3 guys in one class. That's a big deal. We got a starting offensive lineman, Nate Davis, for the Tennessee Titans, and Larry Ogunjobi is with the Cleveland Browns. So that's a program that's been playing football for 6 years, and there's great players at every level, and it's not hard to find them now.
And what I find interesting, too, because, listen, I'm as bad as it gets when it comes to somewhat scoffing at big-time programs proclaiming that they are bowl eligible, and there's a big difference in an SEC school saying, "Hey, we got to 6 wins," and what you're doing. Tell the audience. We saw the pictures, but getting to a bowl game means what to a school like yours?
I think anytime it's the first time you've done something, it means a lot. Now your expectations change. When I took the job, it was how do we find a way to get a bowl game? How do we find a way to provide some relevancy for our university and for our athletic department? And then you win 7 games, and now all of a sudden the expectations change. Now it goes, Well, you better win 8, you better win 9, you better win a conference championship. So I think anytime it's the inaugural game, it's going to mean a lot. Now you hope that this becomes something that people mark on their calendar in December, not just cross your fingers. It means a lot. I mean, it's a chance for us to play on ESPN, the first bowl game of the season, December the 20th, take our guys on an experience. We're going to go stay 5 days in Atlantis.
It's nice.
I mean, these guys won't have another trip.
No.
A lot of them won't have another trip like this in their life. So the culmination of believing in something bigger than yourself, that, you know, taking a new staff under your wing and saying, I'll believe in what you're doing, and fighting through, at one point in time was a 2-5 record to win 5 in a row and go in 7-5 and play in a bowl game. Here's your reward. You're going to the Bahamas for 5 days, playing on ESPN at 2 o'clock on December the 20th, having another opportunity to put your brand out there.
And we see this all the time, and certainly, I mean, you're benefiting as well. I mean, I realize you're the head coach, but your brand is getting pretty hot, and I know that you don't want to think about that, but you have to. It's your life. We've seen a lot of movement down the road at Appalachian State. We just interviewed Eli the other day, who landed at Missouri. How do you deal with that part of it? Because you are quite a hot young coach.
Well, I got to keep my wife off of Twitter. That's the biggest deal. But I think the great part about it is it means you're having success. The other part about it for me is that I'm not looking. You know, I'm in a great spot. This was a job that I pinpointed and said I want. You know, I always look back to, I would have a really hard time, and it doesn't mean other people are wrong for doing it, but I would have a really hard time doing a press conference at another school after not even having a recruiting class and after having not even been there a year. That didn't settle well with me. It wasn't, you know, I know that there's life-changing money involved. I know that there's exposure involved. I mean, you got a chance to be on your show once a week instead of once a year, you know. But I think that we've got a really good thing going. We live in an unbelievable city. My wife's happy, and we've been there for 1 year. That's hard to keep. It was a lot easier for me to stomach going back and risking, you know, are you going to be as hot a year from now as you are right now, versus jumping ship and it not working, and you say, I never really completed anything.
And that's such an interesting challenge. I've talked, and you've talked to more than I have probably, but you know, making the wrong move can really destroy your career. I know you talk to people about stuff like that. How do you know when or where? And I don't mean this disrespectfully toward where you are, but it's just a generality of being a young coach on the rise.
Well, I mean, for me, it's always, how do I keep my assistants? You know, and obviously, when you've got guys that have done a really good job and you've created a buzz, it's not just the head coach you got to worry about, it's the assistants. And to me, what Dabo has shown at Clemson is the continuity that he's been able to provide for his staff is I think, a reason why he's had so much success. Now, you look on the other hand, and Nick Saban replaces coordinators every year, and he still wins. That's how good he is. I'm not that good. I'm only as good as the people that are around me, and I got to keep them. And so, obviously, there's different money that's involved at these levels. It's life-changing, family-changing type of money. But for me, being at a place with a really good quality of life, with the assistants you want to be around, and being in a program where you feel like the vision is matched by your administration is a big deal. Yeah, I don't think you can replace that quality of life.
While we have you here, and certainly we're 2 weeks away from the playoffs, I am interested in a scouting report on Clemson, because you spent plenty of time getting ready for them, and you saw them in their place. What did you see when you played Clemson?
I feel like the Simmons kid played free safety, linebacker, and defensive end on every play. I mean, he is a specimen and very, very difficult to scheme against. I think their back five are really good, probably as good as anybody in the country. Obviously, losing 3 first-round draft picks on the defensive line, they look different. They just they do enough schematically defensively where they'll give you a hard time. It feels like every play they run a different defense at you and it give you a different look. You know, and everybody's scared to death to go fast on them because you don't want to give the ball back to their offense. I mean, the running back is unbelievable. I mean, obviously the quarterback is an NFL guy for sure, maybe a first, the number 1 pick overall, and then they got guys that look like Dick's Sporting Goods mannequins running routes, So it's like, what do? I'm going to go fast and try to confuse their defense, but if I go 3 and out, I'm going to give the ball back to their offense that could score on me in one play. So, and I just think what makes Clemson different, in my opinion, is they never seem to get tired of beating your rear end. They don't get tired of winning. It's not, they win, 62-17 in the ACC championship, and Dabo's running at midfield like he's never won an ACC championship before. And I think that resonates in their locker room. They enjoy winning. They enjoy playing with each other. And to me, teams that want to keep playing in December and January are usually the teams that have the most success.
Finally, Coach, before you go, you have the trip to the Bahamas coming up. I'm just guessing you try to get as much work done now as opposed to getting down there at the Atlantis, because it's quite a place.
Yeah, we need to have our game plan done by the time we leave Monday morning. We're getting, the crazy part about it is when you play on the 20th, you're going to do signing day in the Bahamas, which will be a different type of experience. The other thing about it is you really have 2 weeks on the road as a head coach to go see your recruits, and you're also trying to prepare for a bowl game. So we've been strategic about, practicing on the weekends or practicing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're having official visits, and you've been on the road all week long. So it'll be nice to get on the plane and go to the Bahamas and be able to be with my family and relax for just a second. And I think we've got a good game plan together and a good scheme. Our players have been able to lock back in. That's the biggest thing to me is you're giving them the whole week just to lift and run, and now you got to snap back in and get back into football shape. So I don't know. It's my first time. I don't have all the answers. I got a losing record as a head coach, so it's not like I got it figured out. But we're learning on the run and having a lot of fun doing it.
I don't think you're going to have a losing record for much longer, Coach. What a pleasure to meet you and to have you on the program, and all the best down there.
Thank you very much for having me. Great to meet you.
Great, sir. Anyway, we've been as we've been talking here, your son Eli has been in the other room. He's been.
Hey, dude.
He's been running the show here. He's got a future.
That's right. If I can just get him to like Charlotte as much as Clemson, we'll be in good shape.
Well,
all he wanted to do was play putt-putt at the Clemson game.
I'll talk to him as soon as we're down here.
No excuses. I got no excuses.
Well, what a busy day it's already been, and we're only an hour and 20 minutes into the show. We had Coach Pittman on, where he dropped the news that he has hired Barry Odom to be his defensive coordinator at the University of Arkansas. We just talked to Coach Healy, and I got to tell you, Will Healy is going to be a star in this business. This guy will be a major coach by, probably next year. He's really a charismatic guy, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a big star. Let's get to the calls at 855-242-7285, and Tom is in West Virginia. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Hey, I had a question and I have a suggestion.
Okay.
The first question is this. When West Virginia left the Big East to go to the Big 12, Missouri moved to the SEC. Why was that done? Because it seems to me geographically that West Virginia would be more of a fit than Missouri, and also West Virginia brings in 50 to 60,000 fans a week when you go down to the ball games, and West Virginia historically has played the SEC about 50-50, including beating Georgia in
Okay,
Atlanta.
let me interrupt you, okay?
Yeah.
I happen to agree with you, by the way, and I advocated West Virginia getting in. Here's why Missouri got in. At the time, the SEC had not launched the SEC network yet, and Missouri represented two major television markets, St. Louis and Kansas City. And unfortunately, West Virginia does not represent or project any television market. So I think it was partly due to geographical footprint. There were some other explanations given in terms of the academic prowess of the University of Missouri. It's a very fine school, by the way. I'm not saying West Virginia isn't. I'm just telling you that Missouri is. And there was, for whatever reason, there was a little bit of blowback. I thought West Virginia would have added a lot to this league. I think in some ways, culturally, it better fit.
Okay. The second thing is my suggestion. I've thought this over and over, and I think that what if the SEC invited West Virginia and Clemson into the conference, because then Clemson could no longer have to deal with the ACC being what they are.
Hold on a second, Tom. You got to remember, it's not as easy as 1 + 2 = 3.
Oh, of course, I understand.
Here's why. I mean, Florida State and Clemson were both on the SEC list many, many years ago, as the University of Texas was back in the late 80s and early 90s. But every time you get a Clemson or another school, let's say Clemson, who do you think? So Clemson ended up, I think. South Carolina ended up getting in. Clemson was also. I can't remember if Clemson was ever on the list or not. I think the SEC went after Florida State, and Florida State didn't want any part of the league, and they went out. Then they moved into South Carolina, and then they went after Texas, and ended up with Arkansas. Clemson just somehow, once you got South Carolina, you weren't getting Clemson. For the same reason I just got through telling you, the state's too small.
Okay, well, I've been going to West Virginia games since Roger Staubach killed us back in 1963.
Listen,
so West Virginia has improved in scheduling from
no doubt. Listen, I hate to run, Tom. West Virginia the fan base there is as good as it gets. Hey, thanks for the call. Didn't mean to run you, but we are so loaded up with guests here. We have not had much time. We have to go back to a break. We are coming right back. I don't know. The show's been amazing today with Sam Pittman dropping the Barry Odom news and Will Healy just blowing everyone away, and Coach Burrow. Guys, it's been pretty special. First hour and 45 minutes.
We're loving it. I didn't think we could have a good show on Friday without being on the road, but proving me wrong so far.
Proving me wrong.
Yeah.
We've had fathers and sons.
Right.
Spend the father and son like half hour,
yeah,
or 45 minutes there. With.
Young Eli sat right here.
Eli waving in, and how cool is it? I think it's great that Jimmy Burrow is so open with his time. I'm sure that there's tons of media requests to come in, Paul, but excuse me, I texted him this morning, and he was, I would love to come on, and it's just,
cool.
Your son's about to win the Heisman. You're down in New York, you're coming back from Orlando, and just to be so gracious with time, it's very cool, and it's kind of refreshing to have somebody so open with who's just taking the college football world by storm.
I mean, it just seems like we're just Coach Burrow is like taking us along for the ride.
Right. He's our inside man, and he's fanboying his way through the whole thing.
Yeah.
His voice was lighting up talking about Johnny Unitas.
He's worse than me when it comes to meeting these famous. I mean, you know how giddy I get when I said, "You can't believe who I met." Like,
yeah,
I'm like that.
Johnny Unitas, his son.
Paul, you've been to these things. Let me ask Brent, if you were walking into the Heisman ceremony, who would be the first person you want to go shake hands with?
O.J. Simpson?
Not there. Absent.
Not attending.
Absent.
Reggie Bush?
Absent.
Okay.
You want to hit the Manziel for the hat trick there, Paul? Or
No Manziel.
No, but honestly, Paul, I mean, you've been to these things, but if you were going this week.
I was on I think I told you, I was at Tim Tebow's event a couple of years ago, and I got in a car, and I just jumped in, and sitting next to me in the back seat was Marcus Allen and Archie Griffith.
That's cool.
And I'm like going, holy cow. And they said, hey, Paul. I'm like going, how do you guys know me? I mean, it was just such a cool conversation. And, I'm easily blown away by people like that. And the Heisman, no matter where you go, there is somebody even more famous than the previous guy. Okay, and speaking of famous, in the pantheon of Finebaum callers, this next guy is right there at the top.
Man, that was a great interview with Mr. Burrow, and I know he's a proud father, and his son worked hard this year, and he's well deserving of all the accolades and awards that he's getting. Did you know that there's a male and a female high school Heisman winner?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is, and ironically, the male Heisman winner is the son of a friend of mine. He's the kid's from Greenwood, Mississippi. His name's Sanjay. I'm sure Mr. Burrow and Joe and all the people up there will meet him because they're at the ceremonies right now. And he's a a tennis player, an exceptional student, but
That's
a
cool.
young man from Greenwood, Mississippi. I don't know who the young lady is, but yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
but
there are
let me
high
ask
school
you:
Heisman.
is Greenwood on the is Greenwood in the Delta?
Yeah, it's on the edge of the Delta.
Okay.
If you, it's just a little north of Yazoo City, on the edge of the.
Because I always
the
get
hills,
Greenville
and
and Greenwood confused.
yeah, when you drop off the hill, the highway leads you to Greenville, which is.
Okay, I
on the river.
once went to Itabena. Which one was that?
Yeah, that's in between, and that's in between, and that's where Mississippi Valley is.
Yeah, I think I stayed in Green something.
Greenwood. You
Okay.
stayed in Greenwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right there.
Green something.
Itabena is like the suburb of Greenwood.
By the way, I don't mean to jump into your story. My first
No,
job, I covered Grambling, and I spent the weekend with Eddie Robinson,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
he let me ride the bus and have all access. And
I can only imagine.
our hotel was in
That'd be like
Greenwood,
hanging out with-
Mississippi.
I'd be hanging out with Bear Bryant, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty close.
He's a legend. Oh, I can imagine. He's legendary for sure. But being a villain's a hard job, Paul. It really is. But guess it's gotten so bad. Guess who has volunteered to be my PR guy?
Who's that?
Bama Nick.
Oh my goodness! When Bama Nick
no,
offers his services, you know it's probably time to find a new profession.
But no, I wonder. A lot of people are taking this a little too serious, and they don't really realize how we are and how the show is and things of that nature. And everything with me anyway. All this is all fun, and I really appreciate Larry's valiant effort yesterday. I wish he hadn't thrown my name in there on the apology deal, because you do not owe me an apology. I mean, speaking for myself. And what he was complaining about when you hang up on us and things of that nature, just like you did me on Wednesday, well, I had that coming to me Wednesday. I deserved that Wednesday, and I knew it was coming. I knew when I made that call how it was going to end up. But that was okay, because, we can have fun like that, and without it being personal. And Larry needs to realize that you're pulling for LSU really now. That's not really – they're taking it personal when they've got to realize that this is the SEC network, and the only team in the playoffs this year is LSU, which is the team in the SEC. You're obligated to promote LSU, not that they don't deserve it. And, we've had our time, and this year is not our time. We just need to be patient and wait till next year and hope next year is our time. But it's not personal when you hang up on people, and I wish they wouldn't take it that way. And there's a lot of chatter on Twitter that you exploit callers. And if you'll look last night, I said, no, he does not exploit callers. I said, when Paul calls you a friend, he means that you're his friend. And they go, oh, he tells everybody that. He says, you don't hang out with him. You don't go have drinks at his house with him. And I said, no. I said, I don't. I said, but, we don't exchange Christmas cards. I said, but, when you call into someone over years, weekly, you develop a relationship. And again, he tried to downplay that you don't really care.
Well, but hold on a second. When we were together recently, there's not anything I wouldn't tell you, because I trust you.
Well, you told me things. I wasn't even going to say that, but we had a 30-minute conversation before you had to go on there, and you told me 4 or 5 things that you would not have told me if me and you weren't personal friends.
Absolutely not.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, and so.
No. I mean, if you revealed them right now, my career ends as we speak.
I'm not, and again, I haven't said a word. I talked about one thing to I-Man, and he discussed that with you, and you know about it, and we're all cool with that, and that's the only thing.
And by the way, 2 weeks ago when we were in Auburn, I had about a 45-minute conversation with I-Man that was fantastic.
I know. I knew he was coming, and like I said, he and I talked about one of those things, and he's the only person that I discussed that with, because I know you and him are tight too, and I know if he was with me and you that day, you would have said the same thing that you said to me that day.
Well, no, because listen, I see some of that stuff, and by the way, there's nothing you can do, but I trust the people that really know me to make that judgment.
Yeah, and like I said, people think that you really don't care about us callers, but you are a very compassionate person, and it's genuine. And I've expressed it to that person. And again, whether they believe it or not, a lot of us know that. Some people take it too far, like Larry did yesterday. And you care a lot about Larry. I know that you care about Larry.
I do, but Larry sometimes
taking things so personal.
Larry,
you know what I mean?
as Harvey Updike once said, Larry's just too full of Bama.
Well, we all are. But, you know, I just wanted to nip this thing in the bud and get this thing on course because, again,
by the way, maybe that wasn't a good comparison.
You hollered at me one time so much you said your throat hurt for like 3 days afterwards. So, you know, this is all in fun. And like we say, we'll race the board, and each day is a new day.
Yeah.
And if I've offended any of the LSU people, I'm sorry, but I'm a Bama fan. And I'm also an Ole Miss fan because my boys graduated from Ole Miss. And so I'm not going to pull for it. Well, wait, let me put it this way. I'll be pulling for the Tigers this year, but it'll be the Clemson Tigers. But because I don't want to pull for a division rival. But that don't make me a villain, per se. It just makes me a disgruntled Alabama fan. But I'm fixing to be hunting for the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to drop off the radar. I'm going to call back in around the playoffs. You guys have a happy holiday. Tell Miss Finebaum hello.
I will.
And thanks for taking my call.
Squirrel,
Hello.
thank you very much. Great to have you on. Rory is in Pennsylvania. Hello, Rory.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Two things. One is I think I need Christian's number because I want to open up a YouTube account and get on there. And I think we're going to have Billy Ray as our first caller because there's not enough baseball talk. Second is that was a joke, Paul. You with me?
I missed the first two jokes here.
Did you?
Yeah, see, here's my problem. We all went out for Christmas, and the eggnog's wearing off. Can you get me another? Can you hit me again? Yeah.
Paul, can you hear?
Yeah, I got the idea that it was a joke. I just didn't laugh.
All right, sorry, I missed it. Anyway, the reason I'm calling is just because, and I know I'm going to be wrong on this one, and I'm sure you're going to prove me wrong, but I was calling about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I wanted to make an argument as to why he's not getting enough publicity and maybe enough.
He's going to finish third in the Heisman. I don't know what else you want.
Well,
he nearly cost his. I love Jalen, but he nearly cost his team the Big 12 championship. The show's live. What a first half with Coach Healy from Charlotte, Sam Pittman, and Jimmy Burrow. We'll continue our conversation about the Army-Navy game a little bit later on with a retired general. And let's get back to the calls. And Mary is up next. Hello, Mary.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We are great. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say not every Alabama fan is like Larry. And I just want to say
some are sober.
They really are. And I believe in in what Alabama stands for. No, we haven't had our best year. But I just want to say I do believe that they will come back. The great thing about being in the SEC is you do support the other teams. I do support LSU. I'm proud of, what they've accomplished. LSU has never been where they've been. And yet, we wish we could be there every year, but we're not going to be there every year. And, you just have to respect the other players, the other teams, the other coaches. But I do believe that Coach Saban has many more years. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's not done. That's obvious. He's still recruiting at the highest possible level. He's coaching at a very high level, and this isn't the end.
Well, I believe that with all my heart. I think that with the future ahead of us, we just persevere. We hold our heads high. We play Michigan like everything is up to the players. I don't know who's going to play. Some of them may bow out, but I hope that the majority of our players play because I think that we have a great team. No, we're not number one, but we're still good, and we're in the top. Well, I don't know if we're in the top 10 right now. I was disappointed that we were number 13, but I do believe that we have a good team, and I'm proud of them.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Thank you for the call, Mary. I really appreciate it. Al is in Boca Raton, and you are next up.
Hey, good afternoon, Paul. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Good. I haven't spoken to you in a long time. Listen, number one about Nick Saban is this. He was named Decade of the Coach. I'm sorry. He was named Decade of the Coaches of the Decade of this year, of this decade. So was Bear Bryant named the Decade of the Coach in the 60s.
Right.
But there's only been two coaches at one school has been named Decade. That's Saban and Bryant. So that's a nice feeling. You know, with Alabama losing 2 games this year, you got to consider the injuries we had, and plus our recruiting has been good. But when you lose coaches, some coaches like the man in Tennessee, and you got other people leaving, it's hard to rekindle the fire with new coaches. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, sure.
And it's hard so maybe this coming year, I know we're number 1 in recruiting this year. Maybe we can do a better job this coming year, and get back up in the top 4 in the playoffs next year. Look, I really think LSU is a good team, but I really think Ohio State's going to take it all. They've got a great defense. I'm not a Big Ten fan, but I'm looking at it as a realist. I think their defense is very good, and I think it's going to be a good game, but I hope LSU wins, but I really think Ohio State's going to pull it out. What do you think?
I don't know yet, but I think those are the 2 best teams. Thanks for the call. Rusty is calling next. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
We are great. Thank you for calling.
Hey, glad to get through. Only call in about once or twice a year, and I don't know if you remember, I'd called last year and reminded you I'd been over at the old WAPI back in the early 90s.
Oh, I do remember that.
FM when you were there with Bob Lockamy. And this isn't even why I called in. I had a comment and a question, if you'll allow me while I have my opportunity, because
Sure.
It's hard to get through. But I wasn't even calling in about this, but as I was listening to Joe Burrow's dad on the interview and thinking, when you're asking those questions, that, you know, how can a kid or a father you probably don't even think as a kid, you're going to win the Heisman. And I wonder, I have a question for you, Paul. I'm wondering, almost 30 years ago, you're a beat writer, then we're working at the WAPI FM in Birmingham. And when I listen to your show on the radio every day to work, I still consider this a Birmingham, Alabama show. It's when I go back home to watch the rest of the show that I miss while I'm at work, and I see you on television. And now I'm seeing, even this year, you've taken another step. Now the SEC, and, you work for ESPN and you're out of New York. And I'm just wondering, for you, did you think you'd be where you are now 30 years ago with all this? And I know you're very humble, but can you just talk about, did you think you would have this kind of success with yourself and your show?
No, Rusty, I didn't. I remember when I was really young in this business, there was a job opening either in, I think it was in Knoxville, and they talked to me about it briefly, and I'm thinking, what a career that would be to be at a newspaper in a college football town, whether it's my alma mater or not, and do that my entire life. I did not, like any young reporter, I had aspirations, but I didn't think this would happen. So I still can't believe it sometimes. So it makes it more interesting when I walk in. I told the story in Wednesday. I was in New York meeting with some of my bosses. I've been called. I was called in on the carpet because of my treatment of a squirrel, and I was talking about when I go to ESPN every weekend. Some of you may know, some of you may not, because it's pretty early Sunday morning. I walk in there before the sun's up, and I'm walking around, and I'm like, going, I can't. And part of it's the fact that ESPN is just the most massive place you've ever been, and it is the epicenter of sports. And I've never walked in that building, and I'm there every single Sunday morning during the football season, where I'm not in awe of where I am and where I work, and sometimes have a hard time believing that I'm about to go on the air.
Well, I just wanted to congratulate you on your success. And again, I was just thinking of that while I was waiting to get through here as I heard the other comments. But just what an amazing! I love listening to you on the radio. I only get to call in once or twice a year, but and I love to watch.
Well, Rusty, those were amazing days back at that old studio on Highland Avenue.
Yeah, they were great. Anyway, I'll get to my comment, and I had 2 quick questions, and I'll try to make them as fast as I can. I know you have a lot of callers to get to, but I am a diehard Alabama fan, but I'm certainly not the typical fan that I know you talk about that are, so disgruntled even when we lose a game or two. But just like the Jalen Hurts story was such a great story last year, no matter what team you pull for, with how he came back when Tua got injured and won the SEC championship, and I think he's done great this year. I think the Coach O story is incredible, and what I thought about with all his success this year and maybe the last few years at LSU is I thought about that Troy loss a couple years ago. You know, college football is a lot of pressure on these coaches, and, you know, a lot of coaches get let go even within a year or two if they're not winning right away, and it was I know this is just silly, but I thought Coach O fit LSU for his voice alone. He should be the LSU coach forever. But he's a great coach, and I think his success is not just, he's obviously a great recruiter and he's been a great coach, but I think his success is that he put great people around him as well, the coordinators that have come in. And anyway, I just think even as an Alabama fan, I can appreciate a great story, and we've had the best of LSU for many years. I congratulate them on winning that game. It was still a close game. I was proud of Alabama for, we were 5 points from beating the number one team in the country, and I will be pulling for LSU to win the whole championship because I'm an SEC guy, and they deserve their moment. And with all that in mind about Coach O putting coordinators around him, one of my questions was, when you look at Saban and he won 3 championships in a 4-year period. Now, been a couple years, but he's won 2 championships in the last 5 years, so that's still not too bad. And they're still going to be very relevant the next few years, and I still think they can win another championship. But what is your opinion of, do you think, in those first 3, winning 3 in a 4-year period, Saban had, he had coordinators for more than a year. He had Kirby and Jeremy Pruitt on the defense. He had McElwain and Kiffin for periods of time, and now the last 5 years, do you think that's and again, not to take away from
let me jump in here.
success.
I think that's really the problem. Thank you very much for the call, and look forward to talking soon. No matter who you are, if you change personnel all the time, if we had and by the way, I've done this before with a different producer every day, and this is minute. It's infinitesimal compared to Saban. You can't exist when you do not trust or even know who your support people are. Let's go to a break. 855-242-7285. And to get more of your phone calls, we have a retired Major General.
There's nothing like it, and we're excited to be able to be a part of America's game. And this rivalry is like nothing I've ever been a part of, Paul. And I'm glad we got the extra time. This in fact, we've had 2 weeks since we played the last time, and typically we have 3. I mean, it is like a Super Bowl, and with the advantage that's been for us, we've been able to get healthy. And when you play a long season and you get guys nicked and dinged up, oftentimes you get to the end of the season and you're not looking at the same roster, and we've been able to get healthy in years past. I wouldn't exactly call us the healthiest team right now, but we're excited to be here and ready to go for Saturday. Well, I had been an assistant for Paul Johnson for several years, and part of that tenure was at the Naval Academy as an assistant. So I took part in 6 of these games as an assistant coach, and I remember the thrill and just the energy and electricity in the stadium when we played those games. And then I was gone. I was gone as an assistant at Georgia Tech with Paul and the head coach at Georgia Southern for 4 years, and then was fortunate enough to come back here to Army. And when I walked in the stadium again in 2014, the first game back, I guess, to the game, somebody was walking out onto the field with me from the tunnel, and I said, "Gosh, I forgot what this felt like." and it is truly a different feeling, and electricity that you can feel it in the air. And to be the head coach at Army and to have that responsibility of leading a team into this game is incredible, because it goes way beyond our locker room. It's more than just our players and our school. It's over 1 million men and women who serve in the United States Army and their families and all that we represent. So an incredible honor and privilege, and every year it never gets old. It's just a fantastic feeling. Kenny and I are great friends, and nothing will change that. We've worked together a couple of different places, and and have known each other our entire careers. We were graduate assistants together at the University of Hawaii, and just have been great lifetime friends. But we want to beat each other's pants off, and that goes for this Saturday as well. And I know that, he knows that. We have a tremendous amount of respect and for each other, and admiration and love and friendship. So it's really it's an interesting dynamic to go out there and embrace my friend at the 50-yard line before the game, and then go to war with him.
We welcome you back, and we're just 22 hours away from the start of the Army-Navy game. And who better to talk to? We talked to both of the head coaches yesterday, but now let's talk to one of those guys who sits up in the stands that both coaches talked about. And I've gotten to know and become friends with Major General Vincent Bowles a couple of years ago when his book came out, 4321 Leadership. He's extremely popular on the lecture circuit, talking about leadership and applying what he learned as a longtime military man to common events of daily life. Major General Vincent Bowles joins us now. General, it's always a pleasure. So great to have you on.
It's always an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. It was great to see you a couple of months ago when I ran into you in Huntsville, Alabama. But I have to. I want to talk about this game first, and then we'll delve into a little bit about the lessons that you have learned and have tried to disseminate to others. But we had both coaches on yesterday, including Coach Monken, and it just seems to me, and I want you to correct me, that there's so much that goes on in this game, but not letting people down seems to be a big part of it. As a general, what was this game like, and what did it mean to you and your troops?
The biggest aspect of it is that wherever you are in the world, your eyes and hearts turn to Philadelphia or wherever the game is being played, and whatever your service, whether you're Army or Navy, everything turns to that. And to understand that, everybody in that service is thinking about that game and thinking about you and measuring the success of their day by how well that goes, I can fully understand how the players feel a little added burden and the expectations they have to manage.
And listen, it can't be said enough, General, the sacrifice, and you know it so well with more than 30 years in the Army. But talk for a moment about what you've experienced and learned from, spending time at West Point like so many others, and obviously knowing people. They go to the academy as well in Annapolis. What these young men and women, because there may be men on the football team, but there are both, of course, in the service and at the academies. The sacrifice that they make.
Well, first off, it's truly a meritocracy. I mean, there is about an 8% acceptance rate for individuals that apply to go there. What we sometimes lose in that number is that before they can even apply, they have to go to one of their federal legislators, congressmen, senators, or someone, and get nominated so they can even apply. So there's a real cutting through of individuals to get in there to the academy. And there's about an 8% acceptance rate. And you compare that with the University of Alabama, and, it's a 53% acceptance rate. So pretty significant for these young men and women. They don't join or the Naval Academy or the U.S. Military Academy or the Air Force Academy with the notion of, well, I'm going to play football here for 4 years and then I'm going to go play on Sundays. They go to that with the aspect of the notion of service. I mean, at one point in time during the last decade when we had this conflict going on at very high levels in Iraq and Afghanistan, of our 300 general officers, more than 130 of them had sons and daughters that were in combat serving right then. I mean, that gives new vision to the word family business. I mean, these kids go for us and volunteer to go willingly.
General, take us over to the theater, the wartime theater, as difficult as that is, but what happens on this day in December when these two services are meeting?
Well, first off, operations go on. Afghanistan and Iraq were predominantly, and are predominantly still, ground-centric operations. So you have predominantly Marines and Army there. So the Army is probably overrepresented. So what will happen at times is you get overrepresented. So the few Navy folks and Marine Corps folks that are there probably get more than their share of attention. And what you'll do is you'll take a little moment to say, how's the game going? How's it checking in? You got to do your real job. You got to do, your job's not to watch the Army-Navy game. Your job is to either lead a convoy, conduct an operation, conduct a clearing of the streets, a village, a security of a school. And while you're doing those things, when you get back at the end of the mission, you'll be sitting there going, how'd the game go? Because of the time lag, you may be able to watch the game that evening or earlier than that. And, there'll be folks that'll tape the game, and you'll be able to watch it later. Now with their digital devices, everybody can watch it. But it'll be a part of your day. It'll be wearing on your mind if you don't get the opportunity to sit there and watch it.
Okay, I want you to go off script for a second here, General, and tell us what it's like among your esteemed colleagues on the other side. I know you guys kid each other, but I have a feeling that some serious conversations go on before this game with your Navy compatriots.
Well, there'll always be a little back and forth going on, but then you remember after this day's over, we go on to serve in a lot of different places. I mean, you'll run into folks that one minute you're fighting on the field, and then 7 to 10 to 8 to 12 years later, you're running into each other, walking the halls of the Pentagon, working out at the Pentagon officers at the Pentagon Athletic Club, doing wherever you're going to go, and you run into those folks, and those memories, that anchor comes back of, do you remember the game where? Yeah, I remember. Do you remember? And of course, some if we were fortunate enough to win tomorrow, some Army senior 15 years from now will remind a Navy officer, hey, we were 4-0 against you, and he'll go, yeah. And do you remember from 2000 to 2014 you didn't win a game? I mean, it'll just go back and forth, and it just never stops.
Talking to General Vincent Bowles. General, let me talk about real life for a second. And I know in your book, and I know you're much in demand as a lecturer and a speaker throughout this country. But when you go out and meet people from one end of this country to the next, and they're looking to be motivated or to learn about leadership skills, I know it's it's an open-ended question, but help us better understand what you've learned and how you are able to disseminate and share that with people.
Well, one of the first questions I will routinely get is the question, are there such a thing as born leaders? And, General, I need to know, you've been in the Army, you've been around with these folks, are there such a thing as born leaders? And I will look at the group, having gotten to know them a little bit at a cocktail party the night before or something, or at breakfast that morning, and I will look and go, answer 1, yes, there are born leaders. Answer 2, none of you in this room qualify. And, of course, they then sit up a little bit and go, what are you talking about? I go, there are born leaders. There were kings and queens and princes and princesses. That's called royalty. And like recently we had a rash of royal births in the United Kingdom, and we always heard the same thing. Princess Charlotte was born. She is healthy and 6th in line to the throne, or 7th in line to the throne. So there are born leaders. The bad news is you got to wait your turn. Prince Harry could be the number 1 successful person to lead England for the next 20 years. Doesn't matter. He's whatever he is in line, wait your turn. The question I think people are really asking is there any technique, any skill, anything I should know that would predispose me to be a better leader than not? And in the 40-plus years I've done this, I have found there is one skill and one quality that regardless of gender, regardless of academic background, regardless of wealth, your Myers-Briggs temperament indicator score, or anything else, there is one quality that I have found in successful leaders. Self-aware beats self-absorbed. The leaders who are self-aware understand how their actions affect the team, how they affect what's going on outside them, how they build a team to do that. The self-absorbed leaders sit there, look at things, and their entire reaction when anything comes at them is, how does this affect me? How will I feel? Will I look good? So when I talk to folks, that's the thing I start with. And then I talk about, so assuming you are self-aware of what's going on, well, let's talk about ways you can build your self-awareness and work with your team better to orient in that way. But I find that really is the key focus area. Self-aware beats self-absorbed, and I have found wherever I have gone, even now in my coaching, when I'm coaching executives, one of the things I'll do is I'll sit there and I'll start sizing up. Okay, this self-aware person, self-absorbed person. How's it working? Someone asked me once, they said, well, I was doing a leading seminar, and someone put up their hand and said, well, what do you do if you have a self-absorbed person you're coaching? What do you do then? I said, well, the fee goes up. and the reason is because it's going to be harder.
That is so true, and it's applicable in every walk of life, including the industry I'm in, General. Wow, I've got a lot to think about with that line. Listen, it's always great to see you. Please come back soon. I could talk to you all day, and there's so many other things that would really be fun and enjoyable to talk about. So we will do this again soon, hopefully, if you have time.
Paul, I will always make time, and just I'd ask those Americans out there listening to you, just remember, those kids go for us. Please keep them and their families in your prayers. They believe we're worth it, and we should all be trying to be the type of citizens worthy of those young men and women.
General, an honor to talk to you. Be well, my friend.
Mine as well, sir. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Wow. I tell you what, I love quotations. My wife and I are always like, texting each other, hey, I just saw this. But I don't know if I've heard a more pertinent one than what he just got through saying. That is amazing. We will take a break. More to come.
When it's your rivals on the other side, things always change. I've been in this game for so long, Paul. Everything's different. I remember one year we're in, pregame and we're having, 7-on-7 Skelly pass, and, President Bush is walking in between drills. And they got, Secret Service people over there. And, how do you tell the president to get off the field? He's going to get run over. You're just like, okay, guys, we'll just hold on. Don't run your curl route into him. Just kind of let him walk around and shake people's hands. But there's no other games that happen. You got the president, at pregame, and, you see Secret Service people. I remember one of my first games, as a young coach, there are guys, you're always trying to get guys behind the line because the referees are always yelling at you. And there was one guy, he had a long coat on, and I looked at him, and I was about to yell at him, but, I saw, one of those wire things coming out of his ears, so I didn't know what kind of weapons he had under his jacket. I figured, I'll just let him stand in front of the white line. I'll just move down to the 25 and get away from that side, but it's different. There are things that happen at games that don't happen at any other game. I've known Jeff for many years. We were graduate assistants together at the University of Hawaii. We both started our careers together 30 years ago. I have, great respect for him as a person, as a coach, know his family. But as far as ball, it's ball. This isn't, it's not like we're going to come, at the 50-yard line and, dust off white gloves or anything like that. I'm trying to beat the crap out of him. It's just, when it's all said and done, when I'm retired and he's retired, maybe we can think about these games. But right now, he's a good friend of mine, but he's the head coach at Army. I'm the head coach at Navy, and I don't see it any other way. And, I'm not going to be disparaging or anything, but this is, football is a freaking competitive sport, man. And just, it can't be any other way. If you lose any ounce of competitiveness or any ounce of getting soft or feeling sorry for anybody, you're not going to last long in this profession. I think sometimes people look at me just maybe laid back guy from Hawaii. I'm trying to rip your throat out in this game. There's no other way you can survive in Division I football. There's too many good teams, too many good coaches. Everybody's got dining facilities. Everybody's got nice recruiting places. If you let your foot off the pedal at all, you'll be in another profession.
Welcome back. Wow, we've had some amazingly inspirational conversations today. Coach Pittman telling us some great stories and announcing the hiring of Barry Odom live on the air. We had Coach Healy and obviously the General, Jimmy Burrow. Been fun. Really great show. If I may critique my own show. And I've been looped the whole time. David is up next. Hey, David.
Hey, how's it going, Paul?
Very well, thank you.
I just wanted to call to tell you I appreciate the show. I drive trucks, and it's just a pleasure to wait for 1,500 in the afternoon to catch your show.
Well, thank you. That means what type of route are you normally on, or do you have one?
Yeah, I have a route. I have a run down to Florida and back. But I didn't talk to you a couple of times, Alabama fan. We'll be back, but I'm happy for LSU pulling for the SEC to bring that thing back on.
Well, I agree. And listen, thank you, and be safe out on the roads, especially during the holidays.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it, man. You have a good holiday, too. I'm just happy to catch you every day on that road.
Well, David, that means a lot. Thank you very, very much.
All right, take care of yourself, Paul.
All the best, my friend. Good to hear from you. James is up next. Hello, James.
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
We are great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I got a little story I'd like to tell you. It's about one of your callers. It was Tammy. I don't remember exactly what year that I started listening to your show, but I heard her call in, and the more I kept listening to the show and her, I thought, wow, is she for real? Is she really that much of an Auburn fan? So I found her on Facebook, and so we became good friends on Facebook, and I'm like a previous caller. I drive a truck, and I would talk to her at night, and we would text or whatever, and so we made a deal there one year on the Iron Bowl, and I told her, I said, if Alabama wins, I said, you got to buy me an Alabama shirt. And if Auburn wins, I got to buy you an Auburn shirt. She said, all right, deal. So we made that deal. So Alabama won. And so we started talking like on the following Sunday or Monday or whichever day it was. I can't remember. And she told me, she said, James, she said, I'm a little up against it right now. She said, but as soon as I get some extra cash, she said, I'll get your shirt to you and you give me your address.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, okay. I said, that's fine. I said, but don't worry about it. I said, the friendship's better than a shirt anyway. And she said, no. She said, we made a deal. She said, I'm going to stick with my deal. And a couple of weeks later, she sent me a message. She said, your shirt's in the mail. And sure enough, next day or two, I got the shirt in the mail. And you get the callers on here, and they rumble and fuss and holler and raise Cain and stuff like that. And the same way Tammy did, but deep down inside, they all have one loving heart. They're just like me and you and everybody else. And I started a call right after the anniversary a couple of weeks ago, but I never could get through. But I finally got through, and I just wanted to share that story there with you.
Well, James, I really appreciate that because listen, I'm going to spare the cliches, but I think everyone who knows her knows or knew the value she had and the joy she brought, and I miss her every day on this program, and I still hear her voice. We play it in the opening, but that's who she was. I mean, she's the most genuine person that you'll ever meet.
She was.
She had a tough life, but she overcame it all, and she fought back. And even though it's been a year and a month, it's still one of the saddest things that any of us have ever been through.
Yeah, it still don't seem right, though, does it, Paul?
It doesn't. And we think of her family, especially at a time like this, a week and a half before the holidays, and I deeply appreciate you bringing that up. That's it's just who she is.
That's no problem at all. I just felt like I needed to share that little story, and I'm like you. I can still hear her when she calls in, and I can still hear you. Let's go next to the caller, Tammy, and it just don't seem right. But
I think we particularly think of her. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but what she would have said about Nick Saban after that Auburn game would have been priceless.
Oh, it would. I've thought about that many times. Yeah, I could hear her that Saturday night, and especially that Monday when she called in on the show. But I just wanted to share that story.
James,
with
you've made my day. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You have a good day, Paul.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. By the way, a week from today, we are going to have Archbishop Marino on this program. He has received a big promotion since we last talked to him at Christmas. But Father Marino will be here next Friday to spend some time with you, getting us ready for Christmas. I know a lot of us are unprepared for Christmas, but it's pretty soon. Speaking of Christmas, look what Santa brought to us this afternoon. Larry from Shelby.
Yeah, right, Paul. Man, you got a major problem. I may be Otis, but you're Barney Fife, Jack. But the problem
I think that is a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, you and him look just alike. And let me tell you, you sat there and compared me to Harvey Updike. I demand, absolutely demand an immediate apology. That is nasty.
Well, Larry,
dirty
so you're saying I should apologize to Updike for comparing you to him?
Oh man, you just gonna, man. I'll tell you what, Paul. I wish you sat next to me.
What would you do, Larry?
Slap you on that big bald head of yours.
Try it. Hey, Larry, try it. Make my day.
Yeah, Jack. Hey, you little bony knuckle thing. You might get in a few, baby. But when I start
Larry,
popping that head,
you don't hear me talk like this very often, but you got no shot, Jack.
Really?
No shot.
Oh, ooh, you better.
I mean, you may have had a shot like 19 beers ago, but not now. Not at 5:45 in the afternoon, buddy.
Yeah, well, you talking about getting toasted.
You're talking about
hey,
somebody who is in good shape, who works out, and I've been waiting for this moment for a lifetime.
Hey, one
to put
shot,
you in your place.
Down. The two big hits. When
Larry,
I hit
you couldn't even
ground.
stand up straight against me.
When I hit you and you hit the ground,
well,
Jack.
first of all, you're never going to hit me. You're never going to be able to hit me.
Can't see him. Why, you be running probably.
No, I wouldn't be running. But you'll have double vision.
Oh, really? Yeah, you talking about drinking. You probably get drunk on 3 beers. You ain't
3? Are you kidding?
One and give one away.
Are you?
You can't
I don't think I've had.
Paul.
I don't think I've had 3 beers since I was in college.
No, it wouldn't take you nothing. Just like that stuff you drank today. That's where you got your courage right now. But when that wears off,
Larry, that eggnog at lunch is a long time ago, buddy.
You're going to think about it when that
Larry, listen.
I can't believe I said that to Larry.
I got bad news for you, man. I'm not afraid of you.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I mean,
yeah.
Larry, let's be honest. There may have been a time a couple of pounds ago, a couple of years ago, and a couple of beers ago that I would be concerned. But I'm not concerned,
well,
Larry.
You keep talking. You ain't dancing around the apology for the Updike thing.
I'm not running from you, Larry. Bring it on, brother.
Apologize.
Can't believe I'm challenging a caller to a fight right here during the Christmas season.
I'm feeling the spirit. Hey, who's on there talking? Hush, Mark.
Hey, Mark, Kubiak and Danny, you want to get in on this?
Come on, y'all get in.
What's up, Larry? I was enjoying off-camera Randy there chiming in and confusing Larry. It was like the time we played the Tom Hanks clips from the Burbs and the Money Pit.
Larry, did you like that? That was a year ago. We had that Tom Hanks laughing. You remember that?
Yeah, don't do that again.
I won't.
Don't tempt us. Don't tempt us. You threatened to fight Paul. We might have to bring the big guns.
Although if Paul, it is kind of funny that Paul challenged you now, and
right.
Paul's challenged you, Larry.
Who's Danny Sheridan got us a favorite in this one?
Hey, I put his running buddy down who don't even show his face no more.
Who's
Big
that?
Ten John. Big Ten John, I slammed him to the mat.
No, you didn't slam Big Ten John anywhere. I mean, Big Ten John.
He wouldn't arm wrestle me. He's
Big Ten
scared
John
like you,
could
Paul.
sneeze and put you down for the count.
Paul, listen, 2 licks.
You're talking about, hey, by the way, you're talking about a guy who's 40 years younger than you.
Quit! Stop that, Mark! I'm hanging up. I'm hanging. Right on time, Jack! Roll Tide, 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 roll Tide.
Give it up, Larry. We'll be right back. My name is Paul Finebaum. The name of the program, The Paul Finebaum Show.
I think I've seen you before. Have you ever went to eat at the Lloyd's restaurant on 280? Have you ever been there?
I'm surprised you took my call after I was such a jacktail to you last time.
If I ever see an Ohio State fan, I start jumping up out of my seat.
I usually call the police if I see an Ohio State fan near me.
I think sometimes people look at me, just laid back guy from Hawaii. I'm trying to rip your throat out in this game. You know, they might be nice to you and stuff, but if you lose to them too many times, you know, I'll be back in Hawaii driving the bus.
It takes a long time for it to happen. But it's an 18 playoff with, 5 automatic bids for the Power 5 champions and 2 at large and 1 maybe for the group of 5.
It's got me choked up. Can't wait to see it.
All right, so I'm the only one on this.
I know, sorry.
show
I'm having
today
a
who hasn't
coughing
had,
attack.
violent
Paul's
coughing
checking his
fit.
email.
Tell me one thing I've said about Joe Burrow in the past 2 days.
Burrow,
It's been negative.
first of
one
all,
thing.
I'm not. This is not Judge Judy. I don't remember everything you said, and I think hell just did freeze over the fact that I'm attacking an Alabama fan and defending an LSU fan. There's a new world order here, folks.
The segment with the marketing professional, I believe it was Vince Thompson.
Vince Thompson, yes.
I thought that was the most informative and fascinating segment you've ever hosted.
You guys have turned into some sniveling, bitter Bama fans.
Woo! How about that, Baldy? What are you turned into?
I'm the same person I was when the year began.
Yeah, an a-hole. Roll down Tide.
I'll tell you what, I didn't think this was going to be that much fun talking to Bama fans.
It's more than just our players and our school. It's over 1 million men and women who serve in the United States Army and their families. An incredible honor and privilege, and every year it never gets old.
Night, and we're glad all of you are with us. It's been quite a show. Let's continue, and who better and to settle the issues of the day than I-Man in Montgomery, Alabama.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Hey there.
Do you sense a tone of anger in your Bama callers since like September? Has there been a change? Is there a seasonal? Is this one of the new seasons?
It's not good.
It's not good, and they're not wearing it well either. That's 2 Donovan songs back to back. They're not wearing it well, and the season of the witch, and they're just not. They're not handling this, and forget Grandma getting run over by a reindeer. That's
the worst Christmas song ever, by the way.
Absolutely, but how about Saint Nick getting run over by Gus's bus? And it's not that Auburn beat Alabama and beat them down. It's the way Auburn beat Alabama. They did it with defense. They did it with offense. They did it with special teams. They got out-coached, and then
but I mean, it wasn't, according to Nick Saban, it wasn't fair.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. After all of that, the coach went on TV, and he looked like he was about to have a stroke. You couldn't see any of them wrinkles. His face was bloated like he was retaining something, and it wasn't fair. And I mean, that is the fifth domino. And they're not taking it well at all. And now all we can hear is about championships and old washed up rings that probably fade and need polishing somewhere. And they're just not. And when was the last time you had an 80-year-old fella call in and brag about drinking 24 beers and come and take you out?
What about that?
You know, when we was up at the Rammer Jammer place eating and doing the Daily Show, you know, Larry wanted to put me in a headlock. Hell, I had to sit still and wait for him to get in position. Somebody had to help him up over there, and then I had to sit there so he could actually, it took him, 5 minutes to get his arms back to his chest, and I had to sit there, and it was like being hugged at the nursing home. And I will give it to Larry. I mean, back when Eisenhower was president, he's probably a pretty mean man, but Ike has been gone a long time ago, like all of Larry's special qualities. And you know, you got to love it that Harvey Updike called this year. How do you think Harvey's taken all of this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I quite frankly don't think Harvey wants to be compared to Larry. Do you?
You know, they all peas in the same pot. And how about Bammer Nick complaining about getting a tweet on the air? I mean,
hold on a second there, man. Yeah, I mean, Bama Nick, let him speak for himself.
Hey, man, I'm Monkey. Don't you worry about what I complain about on the Finebaum show, you moron. If they want to play my tweets, Danny Brown just put my tweets up. Danny Brown just put my tweets up. I'm happy with it. It's a great show until you get your moron calls on there, talking about nothing. Go ahead, Monkey.
Anything original? Don't you need to tell Mama or somebody over there at the bar you're on TV and have another cold drink? I mean, Mama, I'm on TV. Yo, hush, I got to pee. I mean, Bama Nick, is this really all you got? You called into a nationwide TV show in some parts of the Soviet Union and most certainly out of space, and this is all you got? You're stealing Jim from Tuscaloosa's lines?
About football. Do you ever talk to anybody about football? All you do is come on there downgrading the Tide. That's all you want to do.
What you got? You got another beer? I mean, have another beer. Tell somebody, go out to the street and holler, tell somebody you're on TV. I got bragging rights, dude. You got nothing.
I got bragging rights here. I got people calling where Bama Nick has been. Ask Paul where I've been. He won't take my call. So he's taking it today because I got in a feud.
Hey, Bama Nick, hold on a second. I think I-Man had a good point. You're ripping off Jim from Tuscaloosa's lines.
Come on, Jim.
Is Jim still sweet on your wife?
I don't know, Paul. I mean, you ain't had Jim on in that forever either, like me, until today. Jim ain't called, so I don't know.
I don't know. Remember that time you called in and was trying to
my goodness. It
pick
ain't
up your
fair,
wife?
Nick. It ain't fair. It ain't fair. Have a good day. War Damn Eagle.
Okay. Thanks. That's one reason we don't do that anymore, because poor Nick. I mean, I think he owes Jim an apology for stealing one of Jim's lines. Let's move along and how do you spell moron? Jim is in Kentucky. Hey, Jim.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
I've been listening about this Alabama stuff so long, and first off, I'm a big Blue fan, but I'm an Alabama fan too.
Well, good.
And this last caller said all the Alabama people are taking it hard. Well, they ought to be taking it hard because 6 weeks ago, nobody wanted to play Alabama. And Alabama's rolling along with a Heisman Trophy front runner, and they have bad luck, and they lose their quarterback. Yeah. Now, how many teams in the Final Four, if they'd lost their quarterback, would be there? So this... Is Alabama over the hill? Is the coach over the hill? That's all just stupid talk.
Stupid.
They'll be back, and
let me ask you a question. You know this why or how?
I know. Well, I know Alabama can play football. I know
and when you say they'll be back, what does that mean?
Well, they'll be back.
I don't know. With Alabama, Alabama's measured by national championships. It's not measured by how many Citrus Bowls it goes to.
Well, I agree with that, but I tell you one thing, just like the Auburn game, Auburn was lucky to win the ball game. They had two fumbles that went out of bounds.
No. They were not lucky to win the ball game.
Yeah, they were. Two fumbles went out of bounds that they could have lost, nobody's
lucky to win a game. Okay, I mean, have you ever thought about maybe Gus Malzahn outcoached Nick Saban at the end of the game when he made him look silly?
No, he didn't make him look silly.
No, I correct. You're right. He made him look stupid.
When Tua went down, that's what hurt.
Okay, and why did Tua go down? Was he essential in a 35-7 game?
He was essential to every game they played.
No, I don't think Tua was essential when they were leading 35-7. Let's talk about coaching decisions, okay? Decisions have consequences, my friend. I mean, you act like they don't.
Will you answer my question? If any one of those quarterbacks from LSU, Clemson,
Oklahoma, I don't know the answer to your question because I do know that
if they lost their quarterback, where would they be?
I do know 5 years ago Ohio State lost its starting quarterback and its backup quarterback, and they still won the national championship with a third-string quarterback.
Well, maybe they had
maybe if Alabama had not lost its backup quarterback to Oklahoma, they would have been in better shape.
Well, I don't know, but all this talk about is Alabama's runs through. That's a little premature.
You're a Kentucky fan, right?
I'm go Big Blue
so
and roll Tide.
Does Kentucky have a dynasty up there?
Well, they did have.
Well, they won. They hadn't won national championships in 2012.
That's right. I don't know, but we wasn't talking about Kentucky.
I'm trying to get your definition of a dynasty.
Well, I think Alabama showed what one looks like.
Well, I agree. When you win 5 out of 9 national championships, that's a dynasty.
That's right. But when you lose your quarterback and you're not all of a sudden not in the playoffs, everybody talks like
no. When you lose your quarterback and you're not in the playoff, and some of it's self-induced, it sounds like an excuse.
Well, I haven't heard nobody use that excuse. Coach Saban didn't use that excuse, but it is an excuse.
What do you expect him to say?
Well, I thought he handled it pretty good. This last caller was.
You think he handled the end of the Auburn game pretty good? Guy looked like he was about to have a coronary.
Well, I don't blame him.
Well, he's the one that got outfoxed with a high school play.
No, he got out quarterbacked
by a freshman quarterback. So the freshman quarterback for Auburn outplayed the guy that's been there, was a 4-star recruit and has been there for 3 years. I mean, come on. I'm really getting sick of the excuses. I mean, it's getting to a point of absurdity, isn't it? Now things are so bad at Alabama, you got Kentucky fans making excuses for them. What's next? A break. So, we're back. A lot of reports out there, and John Talty was here yesterday indicating that maybe more of the Alabama players, the juniors, are going to play in Orlando in a couple of weeks than we previously thought, guys. Is that what you're hearing?
Not only are they going to play, Paul, not only are they going to play, but they're all going to come back next year.
Oh, of course.
Matching
Judy, Vaughn,
this is according to what report?
Sources.
There was a players-only meeting. They had the meeting.
Sources in Tuscaloosa have stated there's a revenge tour that's coming.
Matching wristbands and headbands that say the score of the
just to put it out there.
I
mean, look, there's a vast difference between the programs, but it's ironic that Alabama and Michigan are playing in this bowl game because if you can remember a couple of years ago, Michigan started out their revenge tour. Didn't work out. So I warn anybody to get too excited about revenge tours and what they have. I mean, I get it, Paul. We're listening to the fans call, and I can only imagine what the players who are surrounded by this are also hearing and listening to. And do you think that all these juniors are going to come back just for the sake of getting revenge on the world of college football for saying the dynasty is over?
No, that's literally absurd.
They're going to no.
It's patently absurd on his face.
They are going to look. They are going to pass up millions of dollars each. All five of them.
I have not seen that report. I'd like to know where it comes from.
Sources.
Right. I'm going to invent some new adverbs.
Somebody is reporting that. Is that what you're telling me?
There's been sources that say.
Name one source.
There's been.
I'd like
I'm
to
just
know,
going from Tuscaloosa
I'd like to know
news
how those
reporters
sources
and
have
Tide
been-
sports fans, and these sources have said that Dante Vaughn. There was a players-only meeting, and they're all coming back.
Props to Kubiak here because seconds before we came in here, he
spilled my coffee.
He spilled a coffee over here. It's making this huge mess. He should be cleaning it right now, but instead
this
he's
is more
doing this.
important because they're all coming back, and they are going to take over the college football world. Watch out for Bama because they're all coming back.
That sounds like really bad reporting. But anyway, let's continue with more calls at 855-242-7285. John is up next. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
We are great. Thank you for calling.
Hey, all right. Just a couple of things here. I was kind of changed my whole tone after I heard the guy a while ago from Kentucky. Yeah, Alabama's had a down year. There's no doubt. Do they deserve the ranking they got right now? Probably so. You know, an elite team, they're not going to have the mental breakdowns offensively or defensively this team's had all year. You know, even against the cupcake schools. That's my opinion. Did Bo Nix outplay Mac Jones in the Iron Ball? Absolutely not. Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Jones had the 2 interceptions, okay. But overall, Mac Jones,
Hey,
I think
Mac Jones played well enough to win.
Yes, sir, he did. Yes, sir.
Well, I thought he played a great game.
Alabama's defense didn't play well enough to win. Yeah, Gus got him at the end of the game. You know, threw it at him. He dropped the ball. End of story. There's a lot of teams out there. Probably over half the teams in the country right now would love to be sitting at 10-2 and playing Michigan. You know, yeah, it's not the year Alabama fans want. I'm a diehard Alabama fan. But overall, considering, you know, they're probably lucky to be 10-2. You know, a couple of more tough teams on that schedule might be 8-4.
You're right.
You know, that's just my opinion. You know, are they going to come back? Are they going to be back? Who knows? You know, we'll see come next year. We'll see a lot when they play Michigan. If they show up against Michigan, I don't know. Is Michigan going to probably show up against Bama? I would assume so. I think it's going to be a great bowl game. I really do. I think it's going to be a good game. I hope Alabama beats the brakes off of them. But, you know, the mental breakdowns, the defense way it's playing, who knows? But my next question is, of the Alabama players that are draft eligible, who do you really think will leave and who do you think will stay?
Well, Judy's leaving. He's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 picks in the draft, so I don't think that's a debate. Tua's, I think, is going to leave unless he has a major health setback. And, you know, after that, I think I'd have to go down the list, but, I mean, I think there's 5 or 6 players that are going to leave.
Do you think Najee will leave, or do you think he's ready to leave?
I'm trying to remember where he's projected. I don't remember the grade on him.
I'd like to see him back a year. I think he's just, and again, that's just my opinion.
Well, by the way, they don't have grades, but I mean, I've seen projections, is what I'm saying. I have seen as many as 5 or 6 Alabama players projected in the first round.
Well, I tell you, that's good. You know, and you can't blame the guys. They need to go. Tua, you know, everybody loves him, great quarterback, but you know, what's he got to prove to come back another year? You know, I mean, if it makes him better 5 spots, I don't think it's worth 5 spots to get.
Well, no, listen, I mean, there is a lot of money at the top of the draft, but once you get past the top 2 or 3, you start losing a couple of $1 million with every grouping. And people, what people don't realize is, I mean, the big money in the NFL comes with the second contract.
That's right.
But you can make a lot of money on if you're the first player taken.
Well, regardless,
most of it's bonus money.
Point, and he's not going to be a top 2 or 3 pick at this point. You know, I don't see it. But you know, again, back to what I was saying earlier, I think Alabama's had a pretty dang good year. I think a lot of, you know, average school, most coaches with a 10-2 record losing by total.
You know what,
points,
John? Alabama to me is still one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country.
They are. They really are. You know, it sucks. They've been in the playoff, and the problem is, when you expect them to be there every year.
Well,
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there's no
question. That's a lot of pressure on them boys. And when they do have that down year, which is coming, no, Auburn's not a bad team. LSU's a great team. Burrow, say everybody said what they wanted to about him beginning.
But you know what? If you had told me before the season, outside of Alabama, give me an undefeated team, I would have gone with Georgia.
Exactly. That's exactly.
That is the team to me that underperformed this year, even more than Alabama.
That's right. You're exactly right. You hit that right on the head.
I mean, we're obsessing over Nick Saban. Kirby Smart had the best team. And, you hear Georgia fans say, well, we didn't have this or we didn't have that. Well, listen, that's not my problem.
Kirby's a good player, a good coach, I think. But again, back to the guy from Kentucky talking about, the excuses. There's no excuses. Mac Jones was recruited to Alabama just like Tua. He's a 4-star D1 SEC quarterback. You should be able to put that guy in there and him perform.
By the way, a friend of mine just gave me an update on what has been going around, and he believes that Najee is going to leave. Also, Wills, Judy, Ruggs, maybe Dylan Moses, even though he was injured. So, that's what the projections are right now. They could always change, but those are what
that's right.
And they don't have draft grades, but they have a pretty good idea based on what the experts say.
Well, I didn't expect Najee to stay. But Alabama, again, has got some good running backs coming back and hopefully regroup and get it together this next year. There's a lot ahead. And, every other team in SEC is looking at the same thing, so you don't know till that season starts next year what they're going to look like. And all. But, Paul, I sure do appreciate you taking my call and enjoy talking to you.
Great to have you on. Really appreciate it. Let's continue with more phone calls. And Ricky, don't lose that number.
It's the only one. How you doing?
Hey, Ricky.
Hey, Paul. Well, I got a couple of things that I like to talk about. The college football playoffs is one thing, but first, the Alabama fans, I get it, but I'm with you. I think a lot of times when you've been on top so long and and the landscape is changing. It's changing because the transport portal and there's only so many 5 stars that you can keep.
You're right.
So they got to be spread around the conference. Because that's what I'm afraid of. Like I say, I'm a State fan, but Ole Miss is Kiffin with his name, and he's gonna pull some of them guys.
I had somebody tell me not long ago, Ricky, or somebody close to the Alabama program, that if there's one thing that will drive Nick Saban off the deep end, I say that jokingly, of course.
Right.
It's the transfer portal, because you have no control over it.
Right. Because guys want to play. They want to play. Even the 5-star guys want to play.
Sure. Why do you go to school?
And all these other schools like State and like Ole Miss and Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. It's got the wealth got to be spread out now. And I think it's good for the SEC because nobody wants. People like dynasty when you're the dynasty. Just like people in New England, they pay the Patriots fans. They feeling just like Alabama now.
Oh yeah.
But
Patriots. Patriots have lost 2 games, and it's like the world has come to an end.
Right. But as far as the playoffs, and I was kind of like you as far as the 14 playoffs. I like it like that, but I have an interesting take on the 18 playoff. It's because with all the guys, just like a lot of guys that's leaving, or the NFL stock going up and they sit out the bowl games. Well, that's 2 more bowls. If you have 18 playoffs, that's 2 more bowls that guys are willing to play in because they're fighting for that national championship.
Sure.
So that's 8 teams right there. So I think that would probably it's probably going to be inevitable that it's going to come to 18 playoffs because I think the bowl people, I think in the schools, they would be more satisfied with that because of the fact that you got 8 teams, and therefore you won't have guys sitting out because they have more. Because even though you can get hurt in the national championship game, and but the players seem to value that and sitting out, rather than sitting out. So, the other bowls don't matter, but when you fighting for a national championship, that seems to matter to the players, and because I can't imagine Joe Burrow. Well, I'm gonna be the number 1 pick now. I'm gonna sit out the national championship game. That ain't happening.
You're right.
But
hey,
by the way, LSU is man, I am stoked with them guys, man. They've been down for a while, man. They let them crow for a while. And when Alabama wins, who crow the loudest than them? And they'll let you know how good they are, and they call everybody else trash. So hey, it ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Well, thank you, Ricky. Great to have you on, and don't lose that number because it's the only one you'll own. We are coming back with more 30 minutes.
I've been fortunate enough, this will be my 3rd Outback Bowl. I think both previous games went overtime. It was a great experience for us. The Outback Bowl crew does a super job. The community really supports the bowl. This is big for us recruiting in this area too, and we're happy to be back.
We're excited to be back, and the biggest thing young people are excited about is when they step foot off the plane from -10 to here. I think their smiles are going to be huge on their face, and that's what you want. This is a reward for our players, our staff, our alumni, our boosters, our donors, our administration, the University of Minnesota, to celebrate a historic season for us. And there's no better place to go than the Outback Bowl down here in Tampa, and this is what we were hoping for, so we're really excited to be here.
We played our best football game in the Iron Bowl, which is real good. We have a veteran team coming back. We had a true freshman quarterback that's grown, each game. We played the toughest schedule in all of college football, and I think he's in a good spot, and I think our team's in a good spot coming to this game.
10 wins, first time since 1904 in the regular season. This is the first time in the history of our program, 137 years, that we've actually won 7 conference games. We have 53 academic all Big Ten players. We have 2 All-Americans. We have 85 players over a 3.0 GPA. I can go on with all the awards towards players towards the end of the year. But as a coach, you always remember the 2 that you didn't win, right? And you wonder why you didn't win those. And it could be 2 quarters that really don't feel good, and that's the things you're going to focus on as a coach when you had this historic season. But the biggest thing you remember are the players, is the stories they have, the moments and memories they've created, the Penn State game, a top 5 win for our program, and then the consistency they played with all year to be able to overcome the adversity that they had faced, and the strength they had to win those first 3 in the group of 5 when we were playing them, and to be able to have that, to overcome that adversity when they were pressed and early in the season, really challenged our character and challenged their character and our culture, and they came through at the end of the year.
I'm very impressed with them. They're 10-2. They got an outstanding defense. They got an outstanding offense. Their head coach is one of the more energetic guys. I've always been impressed with his teams, and they take on his personality. And this will be a very big game for them also. So it ought to be a good one.
Welcome back. We are glad you're here, and let's grab some more phone calls. Robert is up next in South Carolina. Hello, Robert. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Good. Appreciate you taking my call. Listen, I wanted to cover a couple of things, if you don't mind.
No. First,
I'd like to say I really want to see Paul Finebaum and Larry from Shelby on some card somewhere. Remember when Justin Bieber challenged Tom Cruise? Maybe we can get Conor McGregor to promote that one as well.
No, listen, I mean, there's a real market for a couple of guys our age.
I think it'd be hilarious. Another thing is, Dan called in, must have been from Louisiana somewhere. Seemed real concerned about Ohio State's defense. So if you're out there, Dan, I just wanted to tell you I don't think you're going to have to worry about Ohio State's defense. I think it's Clemson's defense you're going to need to be worried about. But going back to this ACC-SEC thing, I called a few weeks ago, and you actually agreed with me, saying that the schedules are made so far in advance. that you don't know what your schedule's going to be like because you made that schedule years, sometimes decades in advance. But if you get to looking, sorry about that, my dog.
That's okay.
If you get to looking over the last 4 years, the ACC's got a winning record over the SEC 3 of the last 4 years.
Well, no doubt.
So I don't see that's where that's total superiority and domination. And over the last 5 years, it's the ACC's 26 and 24. And Clemson has historically, over the last 10 years or so, scheduled Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, A&M, and years ago I think they opened up with Mississippi State or somebody. But we got 3 matchups in the bowl games, maybe 4 if LSU and Clemson make it. But, it's not like LSU was a big juggernaut 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, they had a good team, but they weren't what you would call elite at that time. So that's my only point, again, is everybody needs to get off the schedule because these teams don't know how hard that schedule's going to be when these schedules are made.
No, you're right. Cat Daddy, do you agree with the Clemson fan talking about the superiority of the ACC?
I have to believe if the scheduling is right, because you don't know, Mr. Finebaum. You know they make them years ago, so they don't know. So, but I didn't call for that. I called to tell you that I think Larry from Shelby does not drink beer. He uses an IV.
True.
And I also want to say this. You made a comment the other day about the NCAA president wanting Congress to help them decide.
Right.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard.
I mean, how could you possibly trust Congress to do anything?
Exactly. And I spent 4.5 years trying to impeach a president the people voted for. But another thing, Mr. Finebaum, you've been on the radio down here today. Do you know that on the sports talk station down here, they said that your TV ratings are higher than CNN and MSNBC's ratings combined. Did you know that?
I didn't realize that, but having watched both of those channels today, I can see why.
I sure can. But, Miss Finebaum, I'm going to tell you what. I don't know what's going to happen, and we all have to just sit back and watch and this, that, and the other. But I'm going to tell you what, you have one of the most enjoyable shows on television. I enjoy listening to the callers, not just taking away things from the coaches and other people that call. But I had a cousin that works at Charlotte Airport.
Right.
He said he has seen you come through that airport 100 times. Is that true?
This fall it has been, yes.
All right, I just wonder because I know there's a big television complex up there on Billy Graham Parkway. Is that where y'all studios is from?
No, our studios are in Ballantyne.
Ballantyne, South Carolina?
Yeah. Well, no, Ballantyne, North Carolina. It's just south of Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Now we are how close to the South Carolina border are we, guys?
Well, there's been rumors around here that
we're very close to Fort Mill.
Oh, Jim and Tammy Baker territory.
Yeah, in fact, I saw Jim and Tammy today for lunch. We were all praying for Will Muschamp.
I love you, Mr. Finebaum. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. I know Tammy died. Is Jim still around?
Yes.
He is?
Has a TV show.
He still has a TV show?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Scary, isn't it?
Got to make a living. Tony is up next in Louisiana. Hello, Tony.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
I am well. Thank you.
I was going to talk about Nick. I was telling you that he was still not over that LSU loss. Because before that Auburn game, he had said that Auburn was going to be the toughest team they meet this year.
He said that. He was
right. He just got beat by LSU.
Yeah, but I think he knew he was about to lose to Auburn.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. I'm a little bit younger, but Bear Bryant, did Bear Bryant ever did carry himself like Nick did at that halftime right before kind of lose his, on the sideline?
I only covered the very end of Bryant's term, the last 2 years, so I don't remember him being as animated. And I'm sure in his prime he was.
I treat Alabama like the Cowboys, of college football, the American team. Because everybody, if you like him, you like him. If you don't, you hate him. Which I like him and everything. But Nick keep acting like that, he's just start losing some fans around. I think anyway. But anyway, thanks for taking my call, Paul.
Hey, thank you very, very much. Great to have you on. Kirk is in New York. Hello, Kirk.
Oh, can I just get a translation on that last call, please?
That was quintessential Cajun.
Oh, okay. Very good, very good. No, I like that guy. But I was really calling in regards to Jim from Kentucky. He was the guy from the Kentucky Wildcat fan for basketball. But he supports Alabama football. Very strange there. He didn't have much sense, did he?
I didn't think so, but what do I know? I'm only the host.
Yeah. Which brings me to my major point. What do you think about just Bama fans in general? Do you think they're morally bankrupt?
That's what they call a loaded question in the industry. Apparently you do. Why do you think that?
I don't know. They just don't seem that very bright to me. They got that, it's like always ain't nobody and this and that, and they just.
Now, Kirk, are you from the city or somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm from the city.
Okay. And having only spent 52 nights in New York this fall, it's a really bright city. Everybody there is smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you walk down the street in New York and everybody is like a Harvard MBA student.
Yeah, that's not to pick on Alabama. It's just it's pick on Alabama. It just seems like Auburn.
Well, let me tell you this, Kirk. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not boring anybody with old news, but I'm the child of two New Yorkers. Okay.
Oh, very good.
But I wouldn't trade my time in Alabama for anything, because I think the people there sound like they sound, because that's just the way people talk. But they're smart and they're good people, and I'm not sure I really understand some fast-talking New Yorker coming in here telling us how stupid we all are. Anyway, we've got to go to a break. Much more to come after this.